There was a period between earning good money to the point where I couldn't pay my rent, and I wasn't earning money. I was at obviously the basic entry level of main Chelsea, not enough followers to earn anything on Instagram. So there was like a year and a bit where I was like, oh my God, but I always had that in the back of my mind that, this is, sometimes you need to take that back step to go forward. And I'm only getting to that point now, about 3 years in, where I'm like, I think my decision paid off.
Quick one, fellas. You probably heard a few months ago I dropped an e-com course, a very fucking guru of me, but it's not that. I promise you, 0 to 1, how to start a brand from scratch with no budget, some budget, a bit of budget. Take your idea from a bedroom to reality to potentially 7-8 figures in sales, like I've done a few times, based on my 7 years of experience in the trenches and my current experience building my current brand, Space Goods. It's no bullshit, no frills. We've had like 75 people go through so far. Not a single person has asked for a refund. Plenty of people have actually built some seriously impressive shit. Covers every aspect of the business. Not just the front end stuff like most gurus on YouTube and Twitter are talking about, not just product, marketing, all that shit, but the real shit, the logistics, the back end, the supply chain, the customer service, the finances as well. This covers the whole spectrum, every part, 12 hours of video. If you're interested in scaling a brand 0 to 1, actually turning your idea finally into a reality, then click the link below, go check out Learn Real Commerce course and let me know what you think. I'll be glad to have you in there. Let's fucking go. Right, then we're back with the Midnight Pod, episode 44 or something like that. We have the first, I guess, reality TV star / beer entrepreneur on the pod, Harvey Armstrong. We are drinking Prime Time, which I guess in summary is a low-calorie caffeine infused beer.
So yeah, both. So we've got two products. One is a low-calorie lager, which you're drinking, the classic.
Yeah.
And then we've got the world's first caffeine infused lager. Again, also low calorie, low carb, but just caffeine infused. So
yeah. Because I'm not a beer drinker typically, probably because of the carbs and shit. To be fair, when I'm trying to like,
is that what it is?
Yeah,
is that what it is?
That's definitely has an impact. Whether that's just subconscious. I mean, wine's probably not much better. To be fair,
calorific wise, it's not.
I usually go for like a
carb
G&T.
wise, it is.
Yeah,
red wine especially.
At the minute when I'm running and training a lot and trying to get shredded, I mean, I'm in shape.
Well, I've seen you're doing quite a bit of that at the moment.
Yeah, fucking hitting it hard. Like 100k a week running. It's crazy.
You're joking?
No.
That's mad.
Yeah.
What's that equate to a day? Like you're doing like 10Ks, 15Ks? 10
to 15k a day average, yeah.
You're training for something?
Yeah, London Marathon. I'm going for sub 3. So I've never run a marathon.
The elite category?
Yeah, so apparently sub 3 is elite. I mean, I've done a 1:21 half marathon, so I should be able to do it. 35-minute 10K and all that.
Sub 3. How much? So what does that mean you've got to do each kilometre?
4:16.
That is insane. Because I got into running a little bit. I hate it. Yeah. Over lockdown.
I used to hate
even at my peak, I couldn't get anywhere near 4:16. And I'm fairly fit, like athletic.
How long though?
Oh, 5K. Like nothing.
Oh really?
And I couldn't even get near that. So that.
Yeah, I got down to like 17-minute 5K.
No, right. You're yeah.
I mean, anyone that watches the pod knows I wasn't fat. But I was 2 stone heavier and was doing like 50-minute 10K like 5 months ago.
That scrolls a bit deeper into his Instagram would also know that, because I had a little flicked a bit too far. I was like, I used to be a bit chubby, mate.
I was actually thinking this because honestly, this is going on a tangent already, but I put in my group chat the other day like a picture of me, but in fact it was bang on a year ago. It was like at the Euros.
Yeah.
And I was absolutely smashed and I don't recognise myself. Because I was just like,
because I was smashed or because I was fat?
Well, both. It was both, and it was just like.
Did your phone stop using face recognition?
I actually need to go back and archive all that shit. So certain people don't look at my profile and think this Don's just going through a good phase. Yeah, but no. I guess that's a long way of saying that this beer is more to my liking because low carbs.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, that's exactly why I developed it and started it. It was exactly for that fitness focused, health conscious drinker that wants to enjoy beer, wants to enjoy life, have a good time, but is conscious of unnecessary calories and weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So going back to the start, my first question usually is, I guess, who the fuck are you? Would you do? But we've already kind of said that. But like, where did all this start? I noticed we have quite a lot in common in the sense that you went to Newcastle Uni.
Yeah.
You're 1 year older than me, academically. And you nearly sold your soul to the Matrix, as I would say.
I sold my soul to the devil for a little bit.
Accounting.
Yeah, so at Newcastle, I did like a sort of collaborative sponsored course where I worked basically part-time for PwC and part-time at uni. So it's called like the Flying Start course. Effectively, it was a fast track to getting your ACA. So I did that. I you're 18 and you're applying for your UCAS and whatnot, and I just wanted something
UCAS.
Yeah, I remember that.
I hadn't thought about that for years.
Remember when your GCSEs meant something?
Yeah.
And I, at the time, I was like, I want to do something that is progressive, that's going to earn me money. And this was a course where I could earn money at uni. I fast tracked myself through this qualification, which is tough to get. And I chose to do that. And then it's a 4-year course at Newcastle. So yeah, I did that, and then sort of part of the parcel is that you then work for PwC once you finish, assuming you get a 2-1 or above. So then I did my like a year and a bit at PwC, got qualified, and then I realised, as you say, like this is a matrix. This is not where I want to be. Like I'm working for the man. I'm just a cog in this like system. I'm doing unvalued work. Your input is not your output. Your input is not your output, and it wasn't satisfying. It wasn't getting me out of bed in the morning, and I was just like, I need to do something different. I need to do something for myself, and I've always had that underlying like motivation and drive, but it was just a case of like I didn't know what it was, and then this kind of came to mind, and then having that qualification with PwC, and it does add credibility. It does give you like a sort of stable base to have the confidence to go and do like a business for your own. Because I could have fallen back on that, and I probably still can. I hope to God that I don't have to. But yeah, so I did definitely sell my soul to the devil for a bit, but it's got me to where I am now. So I do owe a lot to it, for sure. Yeah.
It's funny because, as I was saying before, like I've never, whether like fortunately or just like the way my path went, and like I have a twin brother, as I've said many times on the pod, that's complete opposite to me. Yeah. And it's like happy doing that. Non-identical, yeah. So we're very different. He's probably happier than I am, ironically, but it's just, I never went down that path at all. So almost like my entire worldview has always been from like, of course everyone runs their own business or whatever, because all my mates do.
But then, temporarily, when going to uni, you went down that mental path, right? I'm going to go into like systematic approach. But then
I can't even remember what I thought. Well, I think when I was there, I knew I would drop out before I even started.
Really? So what were you just doing out of like peer pressure? This is what was meant to be done.
I started a few like online things while I was there, and I eventually stopped going because I was making enough money to support myself. And then,
so how long were you there for?
Like a year and a half, but I dropped out twice.
Yeah.
So dropped out, went back.
So what course did you do?
I was doing business to begin with, and then I did advertising, and then switched to graphic design, and then advertising.
So you were like, right, I'm at uni now, I'm a fresher. Yeah. But actually, I don't really feel like.
So I dropped out after 6 weeks.
Yeah, but why? Because what you?
Because I was just like, fuck this. I had like a culture shock. I felt like the odd one out. I always felt a bit like the odd one out, even in school. I was like popular and shit, but I just didn't want to be there.
Where are you at school?
I'm from York.
Oh yeah.
The north. How about you? Where are you from?
That's where our brewery's at in New York.
Oh, shit.
I went to school in Dorset, a place called Sherburn.
I can't place the accent. Yeah. I thought you sound really posh. You don't really.
G'day, mate. I'm actually half Australian.
Oh shit.
So my dad's an Aussie. I grew up in Australia till I was 12. And then I moved to Spain. My mum's Spanish, Gibraltarian. So I'm like sort of.
That's a pretty good mix.
Yeah, it's an all right mix. Yeah, chasing the sun.
Decent genetics in that.
But then when I was 13, I got sent to boarding school. So that's where the British accent comes from in England, because the sort of Spanish education system isn't that great, or at least my parents didn't think so. So they sent me to boarding school. So that's kind of where the British like accent comes from. So I was at Sherburn, like a school down in Dorset for 5 years, and then went to Newcastle Uni, and then lived in London and started my like career here. So that's kind of very much British in that way.
So were you working in the city then, PwC?
Yeah. Embankment was the office.
Yeah, because I came and did a placement when I first dropped out. It was kind of in the city, but also in Mayfair, in M&A, mergers and acquisitions. Mm-hmm. I was just like wearing a suit, faking it. I was 19, but taught me a lot. But then I was like, fuck, I don't want to work in the corporate world. So I went back to uni to do the creative stuff, and then eventually dropped out. But yeah.
So you went Newcastle, dropped out after 6 weeks because of cultural shock, which I get first year. Hello, mate.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be there. He always jumps on.
Yeah, and then you went, right, I'm going to give the city a crack. So
well, I mean,
then went back to uni.
My uncle fucking got me a place somewhere. It was one of them. Like, I can't say like I applied for like a placement. It was more just like, you can't be doing nothing. Come down here, pay £500 a month, live with me. Did that for like 7 months.
What did you like? What did you like about M&A?
Well, I thought it exposed me to entrepreneurs and people making a lot of money, which I loved. First time I'd ever done that. But I decided then and there I'd never wear a suit unless I was choosing to wear a suit. And like going on the tube at fucking 7 a.m. is not, that's not the life.
Mate, I was doing it recently because I've had a couple of meetings like at the wrong times across London, like peak hour at 9 a.m. or like back at 5, and I'm like, and it's hot now in the summer. I'm like, what? I can't live this life. I can't live this like 9 to 5 thing. Like imagine having to hop on this tube. No disrespect to people who have to do that, but it's just fitting into this like structured 9, get back at 5, 6, whatever, and being in that like rush movement of like people. I just can't do it.
So yeah, it wasn't for me. That's the thing I realised. But like, my original point when you're saying like you started a business, because like in my head, that's what everyone does because that's what I'm so used to. But like you went into the working world first. For how long before you decided I'm doing my own thing? And then what was that process?
So I did this 4-year course at uni, which from day one at 18 was with a view to go into corporate world. Like the whole kind of trajectory was you're gonna work for PwC once you finish your 4 years at uni. So I kind of always went into it with like, right, I basically was like, right, what's the best way I can make money? And not that my whole like motivation is based on money, but it's like, right, finance, top end of employment is finance, right? And that, so if I'm a banker, private equity, corporate finance, that's where I'm going to make top dollar while working for the man. So I was like, right, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. And then once I got through the process, I was like, actually, I looked at, who employs PwC to do their audit, who are these founders of companies I was like, that's where the money's at, not working for the man, it's being the man. So I was like, right, I know that like, I could have had a stable, like good career working in finance, my paycheck month to month, pension, topping up. I don't have a fucking pension, but I'm probably not going to make it to 65, so it doesn't matter.
I was saying that.
But it was like, right, I don't, that's not enough for me. That's not high risk or high reward enough. I need to do something for myself. If I fail, I fail. If I make it, I make it big. And that's what's going to excite me. That's what's going to get me up in the morning. And I did. So I basically was going to go on Love Island at one point, and I was an accountant at the time and I was doing it, and I sat down and I built a full financial model in that. So I looked at what the earnings potential is from Love Island if you do well. So obviously a few assumptions.
Built a model around that. That's the ultimate irony.
Proper nerdy, that's like cool, on Excel and had my glass on, like, all right, let's go. And I was like, right, so if you like hit Love Island well, and you can sort of ride the wave for like 2-3 years, and you can 100%. Make like a $250,000, $500,000, like the guys who've just finished easily, now, Davide and Ekinsu, whatever they are, they'll earn a serious amount of money. And I was like, right, if I earn this amount of money year 1, 2, 3, and I reinvest it, and I took a certain savings amount, reinvested it like a standard 7% return or whatever, and like an index fund. I was like, right, this is the return I can get. And then I was like, but if I stay within audit or I looked at corporate finance. I was like, this is where I want to be, and I earn 40 grand a year, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, whatever, up the corporate ladder to 40. I did it up to 40 years old. And Love Island, quick earnings in 3 years, invested in the right way, outplayed a corporate ladder, invested in the right way by fucking leagues. 100%. And I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? That's so dumb. And that was kind of the turning point. I was like, nah, this is like, there's more potential, there's more like opportunity out there. So
you didn't go on Love Island in the end?
So I didn't in the end, only because they didn't call me up. Literally, I was at the final stages, was just waiting for like a call for like a flight out there, and which never happened, which is probably a good thing, blessing in disguise. But I always did that with the view to promote Primetime. So I'd already developed Primetime, and I was at the early stages of it. So I was looking for like a vehicle that would accelerate that, and like what could I do that gives me a social profile that allows me to then market the beer and like just enhances its like trajectory. So I didn't end up doing it. I then went, right, whatever, focus on this. And then that's kind of like how then Made in Chelsea, Made in Chelsea came around a lot before, but why I then said yes to Made in Chelsea.
Quick one, fellas. You probably heard a few months ago I dropped an ecom course, a very fucking guru of me, but it's not that. I promise you. 0 to 1, how to start a brand from scratch with no budget, some budget, a bit of budget. Take your idea from a bedroom to reality to potentially 7-8 figures in sales, like I've done a few times, based on my 7 years of experience in the trenches and my current experience building my current brand, Space Goods. It's no bullshit, no frills. We've had like 75 people go through so far. Not a single person has asked for a refund. Plenty of people have actually built some seriously impressive shit. Covers every aspect of the business. Not just the front end stuff like most gurus on YouTube and Twitter are talking about, not just product, market and all that shit, but the real shit, the logistics, the back end, the supply chain, the customer service, the finances as well. This covers the whole spectrum, every part, 12 hours of video. If you're interested in scaling a brand 0 to 1, actually turning your idea finally into a reality, then click the link below, go check out Learn Real Commerce course and let me know what you think. I'd be glad to have you in there. Let's fucking go. So going back to when you when you quit your job, was that like a hard stop and then you started that? Or like had you started playing around with the idea of doing this?
So as I was
overlapped?
Yeah, there's a slight overlap. So I a month or two before leaving PwC, I started the kind of foundations of Primetime, the conception, the idea, and started looking into like the feasibility. And then I was like, right, there's something here. And then, but I wasn't sure. So I quit PwC. I went traveling for like 4 or 5 months. I went back to Australia, where I grew up. I sort of got sort of re-engaged with like my old childhood mates. Half my family live out there, like my dad's side. I've got a half brother there. So I went out, I sort of saw them, kind of just switched off. I was in that kind of process, like figure out mode. What do I want to do in life? Is it entrepreneurism? Is it going back to sort of corporate life and getting a job in something a bit more kind of commercial, like facing? I knew it wasn't audit. I was in audit, which is like the deadest, unvalued like area of corporate. So I was like, actually, if I was going to move, I was going to go into like corporate finance, investment banking, something that was like value add. But so I went away and I was like, right, what can I do? In that process, I was like, no, I want to do something for myself. So I came back, and that's when I really hit the turbos on Primetime. I was like, this is what I'm doing now. And then sort of came back for like 5-6 months after, and then I had like Main Chelsea knocking on my door again, and that's when I went, yeah, I'll do it because it will now add value to what I'm trying to do with Primetime. So yeah, I kind of was like, right, I'll do that as a sort of means to an end, as a vehicle to kind of promote, build a platform. 1, to actually get part-time income that's going to keep my head above water, because I need to pay my bills. Like I don't get money from my parents, so I don't like to ask for it. I'm sure if I did, it would be there, but it's not it's not how I operate. And 3, a job that allowed me to have a part-time income, but enough time to actually put to developing and building a business, which, as you know, is not fucking easy.
How do you even start then? Because was this the first thing you'd ever started yourself business-wise? Or had you had like little things before? Yeah,
so this, so I went full cowboy in lockdown and tried to be a mask broker, PPE broker, which I'm sure, I don't know, like so many people jumped on the bandwagon.
I've heard stories about that. I had someone on last night who fucking changed his entire business in COVID to sell hand sanitizer.
Mate, there's so much money made in that. It's insane. It's insane. Obviously, like the supply demand completely outweighed supply, and there was just this gap for people to jump on. I was having talks with like the Mexican government, the NHS, as if I was like going to sell them 40 million masks and be that like middleman, but the whole thing was just fucked. It was just like this, there was just too many people in the middle of this broken chain, and it just like there was like lack of trust. I got sent like fake passports. I got just all these people like trying to defraud the whole system and like jump in on a bit of like, anyway, it was all a bit much. But off the back of that, I was like, what is like, what are people looking for? And at the early stages of lockdown, like people, because that whole like thing of wearing a mask was just so unknown to people. Everyone was quite conscious of putting this like horrible NHS-y blue thing. So I was like, there needs to be a fashionable mask, something that people don't really like, that they can put on their face. So I like started a little company called Get Masked, which was like fashion masks. It was like nice, like polyurethane, like that's, I can't even remember now, that wetsuit material. They looked better, and that you weren't so conscious about wearing them, and it did fucking well in the first couple months. Well, nothing on the figures that you do, but for a little bloke in his in his lockdown flat, who's never done a business before. I was like, that's all right. Like, sold out in the first week, ordered again. Like, the margins were silly, and it did well. But then, like 3-4 months in, it just flopped. It just started burning down because people started getting used to wearing masks. They didn't give a fuck what they wear. They just throw anything on, and people also had, you know, a mask in their pocket, a mask in their drawer, a mask hanging out. Like, then people got to the point where people just didn't need to buy more masks. So. But it was a good experience, and I did that in between prime time. But I had to put prime time on park because it was lockdown. It was the worst time to launch a beer, so I had it all ready to go. And I was just like, lockdown? What, pubs aren't open? What?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to launch online, because the only thing that was going was e-commerce. But you can't launch a beer brand online because people haven't tried it. They're not going to just buy something online.
Very true.
Yeah. So
how did you start it though? Like, you literally sat down and decided you're going to start a beer brand. Like, most people wouldn't know where to start, but then probably wouldn't bother to figure out how to start. Like, what was the process? I guess finding a manufacturer to some extent.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, the idea, the birthing of it was the Caffeine Lager. That was the first like product. So we've got, so we've got the two. So on the side, we've got like 01, 02, so concept 1. You've got concept 2. So the beginning was the Caffeine Lager, and this was like,
I've actually never ever seen that before.
It's the world's first. So no one's ever done Caffeine Lager. Well, that's a lie. This is the world's first caffeine infused low calorie lager.
Right.
So it was done in America about 10 years ago. It was a huge market, and there was like a load of caffeine infused alcoholic products that were just like skyrocketing. And there was one product called Four Loko. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Have you been? No. And it was basically this like really highly caffeinated, highly alcohol content cocktail mixer thing. That was basically really cheap. It was like, I think it was like 14% and had like equivalent of like 3-4 coffees in it.
That's going to spray everywhere, is it?
Huh?
It's not going to spray everywhere.
Give it
doing that tap technique.
Tap. Yeah. Nah, it's not being shook. You want some?
Yeah, he probably does, to be fair. He'll at the top.
Taste.
Need to get that on camera.
No, edit that out. That out.
No, he only likes dog food.
Yeah. You poo a lot on the balcony.
Yeah, no comment on that. I need to clean that up.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the conception of the idea was out in Ibiza, and we were like on third night out on the trot, and I was with my mates, and they're fucking troopers. Like, they can go and it got to the third night. I was like, I can't do it, lads. I'm not coming out. So I just can't do it. And they were like, no, come on, mate. I was like, and they slid me a coffee, slid me a beer, I like had the espresso, had the beer, and then I was like, oh, I feel alright, I can do this, I got this. And then, but my stomach, I was like, oh, that's not a good mix. Like, the creaminess of the coffee, the fizz of the beer, I was like, this just doesn't sit well. But like, physically, I'm up for it. So I was like, why is it not being combined? And then I looked more into it. I was like, well, you've got espresso martinis, you've got vodka Red Bulls, Jaeger bombs, Cafe Patron.
Very true.
You've got Buckfast, I don't even know that's a big one in Scotland. But you've got all these products which are caffeine and alcohol, but not being done in the most consumed form of alcohol in the world, being lager. Like, so I was like, why is it not combined? So I started like looking into it from there and developing it. And that was kind of like the beginnings of, and it was a case of like doing trial and errors with like breweries and doing like sort of small scale batches, and trying to add in the caffeine. And we had like loads of like issues, like the caffeine segmenting to the bottom, the beer going flat. What else do we run up against? All sorts of things. So a load of trial and errors. Then we got like sort of guys in lab coats, like an R&D house, to fully like, you know, get their microscopes out and figure out what the fuck's going on here. And then we came to a solution that worked, and then we sort of trialed that, and it worked, and it was great. So like, it doesn't detract from the beer taste. Well, actually, it's a caffeine. We add a natural caffeine powder, which in itself has a slight bitterness to it. So really, it can actually add like quite a nice element to a beer. So it's a nice like tasting lager. It doesn't taste any different, and gives you a little pick me up. And then off the back of that, we're about to launch this to market, and I was like, there is a bit of kind of resistance around caffeine. Well, firstly, there are people that just don't drink caffeine. They're not coffee drinkers. So you're capping that market. So I didn't want to do that. And then there are people that are a bit like, oh, caffeine, alcohol. So I was like, let's launch a sister product, number 2, just a standard lager, that sort of really taps into consumer trends and needs, which is like kind of low calorie, like low carb, gluten free. So started developing that side, and then we just sort of merged the two. So they're both low calorie, low carb, gluten free, and then one's just caffeine infused.
How much it costs to start a beer brand? That's the thing everyone wonders. I wonder that because I get that question in my DMs all the time. How much it costs to start a supplement brand?
E-commerce.
Yeah, well, because like starting a consumable brand is definitely, in my experience, way more expensive than starting like a jewelry brand.
Really?
Which you can do for like 500 quid.
What does it cost? I guess the minimums are more.
Yeah,
is it?
I reckon. I mean,
you do want the beer now.
I reckon that would cost at least like 30 grand to get one SKU, like minimums.
And that's just a SKU, and then before like all the branding, I
did that myself because I'm good at that. But
you did graphics, didn't you?
Yeah, so it's a lot more expensive than something else, but the barrier to entry is higher then, and that's a good thing.
Exactly, it's that trade-off. I mean, there's two sort of business models you can run in beer production. You either are a craft brewery, which is like a huge sort of industry, like Beavertown, Camden Hells, like guys, they have their own brewery and they sort of work off that, but that obviously comes with a huge capital expenditure. You have to invest in a brewery, and I don't actually know the exact figures, but you're looking for a sort of small brewery like $250,000, $500,000. We work with a brewing partner, so a lot of these breweries across the UK have the facilities, but they have so much spare capacity. They brew their own beer, but they equally are working at 50%, so they contract brew, so they go, right, we can brew for you. And you basically pay them obviously with a margin, and you work in partnership with them. So that's the way that we work at the moment. And we have very like close relationship with the brewery in Yorkshire, who are like, the top dogs in low calorie brewing. We developed the formula and our recipes we completely developed the caffeine formula ourselves, and then we developed the recipe for the low calorie beer with them, and then we've got the IP over both recipes and formulas, and we just brew through them, and that then obviously the startup costs are like
fucking flies.
Oh, mate.
Flies in the kitchen.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall in this conversation.
Yeah, legit.
You are little cunt.
He is. And everyone else watching.
There goes. So basically, to answer your question, what did it cost me?
Exposing everything.
Yeah, exposing everything. What have I turned?
Well, I guess another question alongside that is did you get investors involved, or were you like fully bootstrapping it? Was it just you? Have you got a co-founder? Who was helping you?
Two co-founders. One is my mum's boyfriend, so we kind of started it together.
Yeah.
He's from out. My mum lives out in Spain. He lives out in Spain. He's like always been in the alcohol industry.
Right.
Worked in sort of like distribution of alcohol for like 20, 30 years, and kind of where the like idea sort of came to life with him, because he had experience. He knew like he'd talk to how we're going to do it, and he kind of funded the initial stages of like developing the caffeine formula idea. And then I sort of took it over financially, in that I was like, right, I'm going to bring this to the UK. Once we'd like nailed this caffeine formula beer working, I was like, right, let's fucking like turn this into something. And then basically took it to London, and then sort of from there I put all the rest of the money in, from sort of like conception, branding, like infrastructure, building the website, branding agencies to brand the products, the first production runs, all of that. That was all me. That was like my sort of life savings, everything, which is what you got to do really to like have that emotional and like physical attachment to business, so that you get into that like mentality of you can't fail. I can't,
because against the wall.
So like to an extent, I wanted to throw everything I had at it, because I knew that would then put my back in the corner, and I had to fight my way out. So so I basically funded it till very, very recently. We only just closed our seed round probably about a month and a bit ago. So like I like to think like a month and a bit ago is day one, because I bootstrapped the fuck out of it. Like you can't bootstrap a drinks business. Like
no, I can imagine.
It takes so much upfront capital to get going. You got to be willing to lose millions before you start turning profit. So yeah.
So how did the business look in like the first year? Like how were you selling? Where did Made in Chelsea come into it? Because I know you mentioned that before. and that's probably relevant to how you, I imagine, initially got some traction. Like, what's the story there? So you get the first 2 products at the same time, or is it one and then the other?
Yeah, so we launched both at the same time. But yeah, I mean, Made in Chelsea, the part that has to play is, as I was saying before, I started prime time, the early stages. Like, I don't even think we had the name by that point, but we knew there was something there. We knew what we wanted to do. We had the caffeine formula, and we were like, right, let's do this. And I had Made in Chelsea knocking on my like door for years before.
How does that even work for a start? Because I used to watch it when I was like 15, 16. Then I just stopped watching it.
Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah, and I still watch it.
Yeah.
How many times I get? My missus watches it, mate.
Were you like big on Instagram prior to that, or what?
No,
how does that even work?
Not at all. Like, so
how were you scouted?
So when I left,
you lived around it?
No, not even. Like, when I left Newcastle, I was living with like 3 guy mates. One of which was like really good mates with a girl called Frankie Gaff, who was on the show at the time.
Yeah.
And he's like a nice, like good, attractive bloke. Anyway, they're always scouting for younger like people to come through the show. So they asked him. They were like, right, would you go on the show? Because he was obviously close to Frankie. And then through him, they were like, who are your housemates? They scouted out me and the other 2, and they basically asked me and him to come on the show, and we went for the interviews. I was doing this PwC course that was like I told you about. So I was like, yeah, as a business guy, I was like, right, I want to assess the opportunity. You know, I was curious as well because I used to watch it, and I was like, well, what do they get paid? What's the like structure like? Can I juggle this with PwC? Can I make it work? So we both went for the interviews. And sort of, you know, got the insights, and then always in the back of my head I was like, it's not going to work. I know I've got to finish my ACA. I've got another year and a half. They're not going to be, you know, corporate cogs. The Matrix kids aren't going to be fucking chuffed about it, are they?
Giving you that word now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, every time I say it, I've just got all these like numbers just going.
It's like Andy Tate.
Yeah, and I'm also like dodging bullets at the same time. I'm like, ooh. And I was like, this is never going to fly with these guys. To the point where I did run it past the partners at one point. And I was like, can I juggle the 2? Can I work for you guys, and can I also like out of hours go and film for for Made in Chelsea? And they were like, they assessed it and they were like, no, because out of
how much time like does that even require? Not because I would wonder that. Like, I do wonder that about programs like that.
Again,
is that like a full-time job? Or
so many variables. Like, it really depends how much you're filming. Like, if you're like main kind of story, if you're really involved in the drama, that you're filming quite a lot, like maybe like 20 hours a week.
Oh shit!
But if you're like kind of like on the back sort of like storyline, you're
like every week.
When
or like blocks.
Blocks, like when the season's on. So we would normally like film like 2-3 seasons a year, and that might be sort of 3 months per season. So you might have like 2 months off.
Oh shit! That's quite a lot.
Like this year we've had a really intense filming schedule. We've filmed from January till now, pretty much, with a couple of weeks in between.
And when was this? Like 2020?
This was 2019 November, just before. Right. When did we go into lockdown? 2020.
March 2020. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh my fuck! It was like about 6 months before that. I started out in Buenos Aires, so I started on an away season. So I flew out, and again in the process of saying no, because even when they were asking me again at that point, I was like, it was such a scary thing for me, because I was just like, I just don't know about that world. So I said no, and then they doubled my pay, and I said no again, and then.
How much did they pay, roughly? Can you say this?
I don't know.
This is shit that's going to get, people want to know this.
No.
Is it more than, all right, another way to phrase it, is it more than you thought it would be, or is it less before you went on the show?
It is.
Because I wanted the same shit about Love Island.
You'd be underwhelmed by it, 100%. It's not by any means livable.
But is it enough to replace a job? Like?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, no, not like, unless you were like filming, like you were, as I was saying, like
and it varies depending on like how big of a character you are.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because you get paid. That's a day rate. So if you film once in the day, you get paid. If you don't film that whole app, you don't get paid anything. So it's like 0 contract hours. So like you could get, if you're not involved, you could suddenly fade into the darkness, and your money would follow. You get nothing. if you're like front end and you're filming all the time, it's all right. But it's not, even at the like best case scenario, it's not great. So like what, you know, it's a sort of combination between that and then what sort of comes from Instagram and what comes from that side of like your revenue stream. And that's kind of, but at the early stages there's none of that either, because you're new, you don't have a following. Like it takes a certain following base to before anyone's sort of knocking on your door to give you money for like a brand deal. So there was a period between earning good money with PwC and at a decent age. I qualified at like 22, which is like and then a big back step to doing that, like to the point where I couldn't pay my rent, and I wasn't earning money. I was at obviously the basic entry level of main Chelsea, not enough followers to earn anything on Instagram. So there was like a year and a bit where I was like, oh my god, but I always had that in the back of my mind that, you know, this is, sometimes you need to take that back step to, you know, to go forward. So and it's like, I mean, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but I'm only getting to that point now, about 3 years in, where I'm like, I think my decision paid off, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. But it's getting there. I'm like, right, I think,
So how did, going back to the business for a second, because there's so much fucking gossip from main Chelsea I'd love to hear.
Oh my god.
I've also noticed you have a tattoo of your logo.
Oh yeah, committed.
When did you get that? I've thought about doing this, because then I have to stick to one business.
Right.
Because my problem in the past is I've jumped between things. I was like very like, oh fuck.
Well, let's actually think about it. Had you got Neon Beach tattooed,
that would be a bad idea.
Exactly. But I've got, what I'm going to do, God forbid, if it does fail, I'm just going to get a nice little red X, and then we start again here. And soon I'm going to have a sleeve of failed businesses.
Nah,
hopefully not.
But
good.
I
think for me it is that. And do you know what the other theory behind it is? That, oh god, I overthink everything. Is that you can't wear anything branded on main Chelsea because of like
shit,
Ofcom regulation.
So you have that and just go like
that. So I talk a lot like this, and I keep my hand up, and I was like, how can I get the logo into the camera?
That's hustle, to be
fair. Like, I'll do this.
Yeah, I rate that.
And I'll kind of like itch my beard and like talk a little bit.
They can't blur it out or anything.
Like this. Do you know what? The other thing, I don't watch the show back. So I haven't actually looked at whether it's worked. Because I haven't watched it since I started, which was on Buenos Aires, which is like 2 and a bit years ago. Because I hate the look of myself and the sound of my voice.
I've got over the sound of my voice through the pod, but I can relate to the looking at myself.
Do you know what I was going to say? Because Paul, my housemate, obviously watches it a lot, and I was like, I said to him before I left today, I was like, mate, this is going to be the most monotone interview that's ever existed, because I'm so monotone. Like, I'm known as monotone Harv, and you've got a real like calm, like monotone voice. I was like, fuck.
Do you think?
Yeah. But
is that a bad thing?
No, it's not. Well, I mean, I've got the same. I was like, it's going to be a real nice, calm. No, it's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah.
But it is like, you know.
No, it's chill. So yeah, where was this when you went on the show and then you quit PwC? Like, how much of your focus was on the business? I know you said you went in with like a plan to obviously build your following, which then builds the brand. Did that work? And like, what was the strategy in terms of actually growing the business? Because obviously I know D2C, I don't know. Obviously you do D2C as well, I think. Is that right? Yeah, but
we do.
Mainly like wholesale, stockist, retail. Yeah. How did that go?
So the strategy was always get on the show, use the show as a mechanism, as a platform to accelerate the growth of prime time and develop a platform where I could promote it. But like the first stage of that process was I need to make enough money from the show and from Instagram before I can really focus properly on prime time, because I need to keep my head above water. I need to pay my rent, I need to pay my bills. Yeah. So the first year and a half of that process, I wasn't. So I was very much 90% prime Instagram, main Chelsea, like what do I need to do in this ballpark to make sure that I can get to that point where I have enough of an income. And that took a while, because you need to grow your following, you need to make sure that you stay relevant and stay on the show, and you make enough of it, like, you know, an imprint that you don't, like, it's cutthroat. Like, if you're not bringing good TV, you're off.
How does that even work? Just cutting back to that for a second. Well, I remember, because like, are the producers making what happened? Are they making like the story, or is it like, I've always wondered this, or is it genuine, or is it a bit of both? It's
all very real. It's all very real. Yeah. Like,
but do they just spark up like situations that might certain things might happen in.
Yeah.
So obviously, like, you're in a certain bar, say, filming. Like, I assume they're telling you to go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
but it's real around what happens.
Yeah, they'll tell you to go there because there's a reason that that you should be there, right? So it's like they will. The best way to describe it is kind of like enhanced reality. It's like there are conversations, there are like dramas that you would probably avoid in reality, but they'll go like, no, you're gonna meet here and you're gonna talk about it. We're gonna dive into it, and you kind of don't have a choice because that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it is, but it's by no means scripted. Like everything's like the core of everything is real, like shit, real drama, real emotions, real relationships. Like, but there's times where you just avoid certain things, but you can't. Like you'd live your. Me and my ex Emily had like a really real relationship. Like we moved in together, we lived together, and like marriage, kids, that was all on the cards. But
how did you meet her though?
Through the show, on the show.
So you both get cast as members.
So she was on it for like quite a few years before me, and I just again through the show. But you could call it the show. You could also call it just like London social scene. Like I kind of knew of her beforehand through mutuals and stuff. But I just took a fancy to her. I thought she was like this amazing, funny like girl, and I was like, it was actually so weird. Like, I'd never met her properly, and I was like, just from her Instagrams, I was like, that girl, I'd know that I'm going to click with her. That's like, I've got this intuition that she's the one. And I like went out my way to. She was actually like best mates with my ex Sophie. And I was like, I want to explore this, so I did, and like it just turned into this like amazing.
Well, they were best mates when you got together.
Yeah, they were.
How does that work?
They were housemates. They lived next door to each other. Yeah,
and she thought that was all right.
Well, Sophie was with Jamie at the time, so we were exes, but she'd moved on. And it was kind of like, well, I know it's your ex, but you have moved on. And there was something so like real there that Emily, obviously she wasn't just like, yeah, that's all right. Like she was like, fuck, this isn't all right. But it is like, that's like, I can't fight it. Like I do want to explore it. And then it definitely caused a fucking issue, like huge issue, which, wasn't great for any party involved. But it was worth it. Like we had an amazing 2-year relationship. But things change.
Yeah, fuck. I was with my ex for like 18 months. She's like the first proper girlfriend I'd ever had.
Yeah, what's yours? Because you were telling me like, is this the reason you got fat?
Huh?
Is this the reason you got fat from the breakup?
Oh, jeez, I shouldn't be saying this. I mean,
it
wasn't from the breakup. It's probably from the relationship. Like in reality, I mean, I'm going to get shit by the way on Twitter because I said I would never speak about this again on the pod, but it's topical, so it's fine.
You're still not over it?
I mean, no, I'm well over it now, to be fair.
That's what someone
I'm in love with someone else that won't reply to my text. But she better not be watching this.
Or if you are, reply to his text, please.
Yeah, no, she's not had a feature on the pod yet. Just group chat content. Some people know.
So many questions.
Yeah, fucking hell. Girls are weird.
Girls are weird. I don't understand them.
But also, I know what you mean. Like, you can think someone. I probably thought I was going to get married to my ex.
Yeah.
Like at the start.
So, what's your story with her?
I have to keep this short. I mean, it wasn't on TV, so it was less interesting. But it was like 2 years ago. It was a friend introduced me on a double date, and there was just instant chemistry, and it went way too quick. And then we moved in together during COVID temporarily. But then it wasn't temporary, and then I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
This is very mirrored to mine.
I ultimately think moving in together, like literally, unless you're like married and probably in your 30s, is a bad idea. That's my conclusion.
That's where we went wrong.
I actually think it kills it because you lose that kind of honeymoon, sort of excited to see each other phase. Well, and like previous to that, I would see her maybe at the weekends, and that's like you're excited to see each other. You fucking
but not only that, also as you were saying, like. Just into lockdown, that honeymoon stage is burnt out as well because there's nothing to fucking do. So it makes it a very intense relationship.
Yeah, and then living together is just
Yeah, I did that.
I think you see each other's like true colours, maybe.
Yeah.
And we just weren't aligned on like worldviews and what I wanted to do in my life, and yeah, it was just kind of, in the end, it was relatively amicable. But
so you did 2 years with her, 18 months?
Yeah, it was about 18 months. No, less than that even, 16 months.
When did you meet her? Just before first lockdown?
Like May 2020.
Oh,
like in lockdown.
To lockdown.
Yeah, I shouldn't be speaking about this in this pod.
Because you broke the laws to me.
Yeah, broke the laws. Yeah,
yeah,
people around.
For love, it's fine, Boris.
We had a lot of flat
broke
parties.
it for a fucking house party, little.
We had a lot of flat parties in that flat during COVID.
And the one that
the one over there with the rooftop.
Oh yeah,
some legendary parties.
Yeah, there were some mad ones going on at ours, and with Connor. Connor was like pumping the house parties.
Everyone was using hand sanitizer. It was alright.
Yeah, everyone had masks on. Getmasked.com.
No, it was good. But
so you met her through that, and then obviously, was it partly like, right, we're in lockdown, like I've met a cool girl, we could say like cool girl, but in reality maybe not, and you were like, right, well actually what am I going to do tomorrow?
I think it was like it was,
it'd be amazing if
like,
you just came.
It was short-term infatuation that was kind of, I probably called it like love. Maybe it wasn't.
But like circumstantial to the fact that you didn't have many options and you were in lockdown. Do you reckon? Like comfortable, you're like, I'm gonna be bored for the next few months because
at the time I definitely was really fucking into her. Like I'm rarely into girls.
Yeah.
I've come up with this theory nah. I mean, like I think every 2 years, almost to the month, I get really into someone, like properly. And then most 99% of girls that I've ever spoke to, been with, whatever, don't really care. It's more just been like a fling, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, it's weird. Like every 2 years. Cycle. Like when I was like 16, 18, 20, 22.
It's probably the thought of...
it genuinely is though.
It's the thought of, I want to be on my own, I'm really enjoying it. And then 2 years go past and you're like, fuck me, maybe I'm going to be on my own forever and no one actually wants to be with me. I better figure out, I better find someone who does.
I'm just a hopeless romantic. I'm a very romantic character. Like, I like all that shit, like fucking flowers and dinners and that. I rate that if you actually like someone.
Yeah. No,
I have no problem saying that. Like, I think there's a big like culture problem, I think, right now, like the whole red pill society, like Andy Tate and shit, which you've obviously seen him, and like people are like, oh, just, you know, you got to be a G and all this shit, but
no, mate, that's the way to be.
I have that side, but yeah, like
that's a sweet way to. But girls deserve that. Like I struggle. I'm a bit emotionally robotic. I like to.
I am with most people.
I fucking love cuddles,
rarely,
but not. That's my love language, is touch. Yours sounds like more like gestures and like givings.
I just rate like, you know, like romantic music. Like maybe it's just in my head more than reality. Like 1975 and shit. You know, like the neon lights. I just love all that. The whole aesthetic.
Okay, like, candles lit, couple of rose petals.
I just have, it's always just in my head, this movie scene moment in my head, really. But
you're just living a movie, aren't you?
I'm trying to. Yeah. I really am. So, I mean,
create your own reality.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like the whole premise of what I'm trying to do in my existence. So,
I can love it.
I designed that like 5 years ago. I'm very into like 80s synthwave shit.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's
the whole vibe. What the fuck is this? Space Goods, spacegoods.com, Rainbow Dust version 1, my newest entrepreneurial ecom brand venture. I spent 6 months in the trenches building this shit from scratch. We launched 6 weeks ago. What's it all about? The next generation wellness brand with a long-term vision to essentially consumerize the pending psychedelic consumer goods market, which might sound absolutely ridiculous. We're not quite there yet. The market's massively illegal. But what is this? Rainbow Dust version 1 is an all-in-one mushroom and adaptogenic blend designed to unlock your supernatural self. Essentially, experience a sharper focus, sustained energy, zen-like calm throughout the day. It's an all-in-one powder, tastes like fucking hot chocolate, tastes delicious, works great, looks great, feels amazing. Essentially, the broader concept here was to legally imitate a psychedelic microdose and, like I said, experience those symptoms. You can mix it with anything, brownies, bake brownies with it, mix it with your coffee, have it without coffee, replace your coffee, put it into a protein shake. It's super fucking versatile, it tastes great, it replaced the stack of supplements I was previously taking, but you need to try this shit. It would definitely change the way you work, get you into that deep workflow. I obviously think that myself. Plenty of 1,000+ first customers think the exact same shit. It's not just a pretty packaging, it actually works really fucking well. Keto, vegan, all that good shit. Trust me, you need to try it for yourself. Let's scale this shit to the moon. Spacegoods.com. Get on your Rainbow Dust subscription and see how you fucking feel. Let's do it for the boys. Spacegoods.com. Yeah, so beer break. Well, we normally have a wine break. It was beer break. I like how this looks with the light, by the way. That's why I keep fucking spinning it.
It's got a bit of a like...
It's like reflecting on it.
Yeah.
So it looks wavy. But yeah, I was just saying, because they're low cal, I genuinely would be more likely to drink. I mean, but by the time I've had 3, I'm probably having 10. But I'd be more likely to have less of an issue with it and switch to another drink. So yeah, I definitely rate it.
Yeah, I mean,
good shit.
Like, it's 63% less carbs, so you can basically have 3 pints for the price of 1.
Yeah,
like that's a like serious difference. If that's like your concern, like the carbs,
it's probably just in my head a little bit, but yeah, like I always think.
Well, so if you're a red wine drinker, calories per red wine is more than a beer.
I mean, that also puts me asleep. To be fair,
red wine or beer.
It's like a red wine.
Yeah,
well, it's not like a night out drink. It's a good pod drink.
Yeah, it's definitely like a mellow yellow, like ready for bed.
Yeah, this is good.
That's what the caffeine like lager's for. It's the same with beer. Like beer makes you sluggish, lethargic, and drowsy. True. So it's like that's why we put caffeine in it, because like some people don't want that feeling.
Yeah, it's
during
good.
night out. So
yeah, prime. So I'll link it below and fucking either go invest in the business or fucking buy some.
Or both.
Yeah, do both. It does good on to people that watch this.
Yeah.
Where were we going? I was going into fucking romance and shit, which all my viewers are going to hate because I said I would never speak about X person again, but I feel like it's the Midnight Pod. It's not the Midnight Pod without some chat about the mystical elements of women and life. So coming back to the business then, I mean, you were saying obviously you have to stay relevant and shit, and we'll probably come back to like girls in a minute, but was there like a tactic to stay relevant in terms of like, and alongside that, did you like, what was the approach in terms of, all right, so you get followers, etc. How are you actually promoting the brand? Like, what was the approach in terms of, from like a business perspective of growing it?
So day one, the like reason for our entry to Main Chelsea, with myself and Sam, who's my business partner, and I basically brought him on as a partner and onto the show because in the process of going on the show, I basically said no a couple of times, and in them sweetening the deal, they were like, well, you can bring a mate out with you, because they were going to just bring me out on my own to Buenos Aires, like this like, you know, other side of the world on my own, to like go and be this like ex-boyfriend, like drama, like instigator guy. And I was just like, I know, I'm not doing that. Like, I've got this like financial career that I've worked so hard for, like I've got that in the bank. Like, I'm not, it's going to take a lot for me to fucking leave that all behind, and take this punt. So they sweetened the deal with being like, all right, you can bring a mate with you. And at the time I was doing prime time on my own, and I was like, it's so hard to do. I mean, it sounds like you do all your businesses on your own. Like,
yeah, I've always been a solo founder. I've now got investors around me because I didn't want to do it completely by myself. But
which is impressive, and hats off. And maybe it's easier with e-commerce, but like with the beer company, like you're so on the ground, like you got to be in bars activating, like you've got like such a like front-facing business, so it's like really hard to do on your own. I was like, and like all these like ideas, and like to not have like that sounding board and someone to go like, oh, what do you think of the name Primetime? What do you think of these designs? What do you think of that? Like I didn't have that for like a long period, so I was like, I really want a partner. And so Sam was like a really good mate of mine at the time, and his dad was actually he's like a really sort of like accomplished like branding agent, was doing our branding at the time. So I was like, right, who can I bring on who's, you know, who's flexible enough to jump on the back of a startup that is literally, you know, worth nothing and could be nothing, and equally who I trust and want to work with. And it just all kind of like pieced together. I was like, this good mate of mine, his dad's doing the branding, I've got a slot to go on Main Chelsea with someone, I'm gonna get Sam on board. So that's when he basically joined the party, and we both went out to Buenos Aires together. And from there on, it was like, what are you guys doing in Buenos Aires? And the story was, we're here on business meetings, like meetings in breweries and like manufacturers out in
so they
Argentina.
Let you put the brand into the storyline, like
like not by name or by like visual, because we didn't even have that at the time, but by just like I guess just by context of like who we were and what we were doing. It was just like, we are two guys who are business partners trying to launch a beer, and that's what we're there for. And then then we kind of joined the crew that were out there, but we were initially there for business. So it all began with, you know, prime time at the forefront. That was always the mission. So and then through the process, and then, you know, when we actually launched to market, which was only like 10 months ago, and there was actually no product in hand, and we could actually sell something. Then we used the show to do like a launch, to actually do like a visual like representation of what the product is, and like we did like a launch party at the early stages. Literally now I'm doing another little like sort of prime time focus event on the show, like on Tuesday. So it's like those little things where you can just get your brand name out there, like even just like people that know me or follow me, but they know that I'm doing something. They might not know the name or what it is, but they know that I've got this business. So it's just that like brand exposure, that awareness, which the show can be a really powerful platform to get. Yeah.
How did you get like first stockists and stuff? What was the process? Obviously different to D2C, where like really I'm just spending as much on ads as possible.
Yeah.
To get
I mean,
going.
our first sale was D2C, so we have our own website and you can buy it on there. And that was obviously like the sort of first like what do you call it? The first sort of like touch point to sell. It's the easiest one. So like once we launched and we made it public and whatnot, like the first sales from our website, but then that's always going to be like the sort of like most minimal revenue stream within the business model. So then it was just approaching bars. That's where the volume's at on trade. So you've got like 3, maybe 4 revenue streams. You've got direct to consumer, where your margins are the highest, but it's just not the way that beer is consumed, or even alcoholic products, because people buy them in supermarkets. They buy them when they're out in the pub, the bar, the restaurant, or they buy it at a festival. People don't really go, right, I'm going to buy my beer online, and in 2 days when I'm ready, like I'm going to drink it. It's like very impulsive. So that was like, we've got to start there. We have to have that as a base. But I know it's never going to be the big revenue generator. So then it was on-trade was our main focus, because without on-trade presence, you can never really have off-trade presence. Off-trade is supermarkets, off-licenses, but no supermarket's going to take you on unless they know that you're a known product.
On-trade is where you drink it on the site.
Yeah, on-trade is like bars, pubs, restaurants, clubs, like retail space. And that's what is like, B2B, that's us selling to the bar, and the bar then selling to the consumer. And that's where really our focus is at the moment. So our first few listings were literally, calling, easy wins, calling upon your mates. Oh, you own a bar, give us a go. So we started there, and it was an early success in that, not like, fuck, the numbers are mad, but just in that the early metrics for a beer is that people like it for a start. People then repeat buy it. Hello, mate, what are you doing?
Dog falling off me.
People then repeat buy it, and even if you get a few of those, that's enough to go, right, we've got something here. That's proof of concept. And for me, going back to like your question a while ago, like in terms of my self-funding, for me it was always, I want to self-fund it until I can prove concept. Once I can prove concept, I have a lot more bargaining power, a lot more like equity leverage to be like, right, that this isn't just a concept of my imagination. This thing is called Prime Time. It's in a pub and it sells. And it might sell very low volumes, but it does trickle over and people want it. And it's just a case of getting a bit of money behind me, getting into, instead of 1 bar, 10, instead of 1 pint per bar, 10 pints per bar. Suddenly the multiples like compound, just builds and builds until you've got this like snowball effect. And to do that, it takes a lot of upfront capital. So we've just, as I was saying, just closed our sort of first seed round, which has now allowed us to really turn on the turbos.
Was that from like angels or like private equity?
That was from private investors, some guys who are in the alcohol trade but in whiskey. So they have like a really high growth whiskey company. It was doing amazingly well. So they kind of have synergies with us, but they don't step on our toes. So in effect, they're not by any means majority shareholders, but we have merged to effect. Like we're working together, we're sort of synergizing their like head office staff with what we need. So they've sort of taken in financial investment and operational investment. So it'll be a good partnership. It's early stages, but they have an in-house marketing team, an in-house PR team, an in-house design team, sales team. I'm a 2-man, 3-man band-ish. So to be able to outsource that to them, brilliant. And then we're also employing our own staff at the moment. Got my first interview tomorrow. Probably shouldn't have too many of these.
Yeah, gross.
I was actually going to, as part of the interview process, I was going to get them to down a pint, and I was like, if you don't do it in under 7 seconds, you're not hired.
Got to build company culture.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
But so they're our investors, and yeah, like I went to all sorts, private investors, family, friends, guys in the industry. Like, it got to the point basically we had enough interest and enough yeses that it wasn't about the money. It was more about who can operationally add value.
Yeah,
we can get the money from anywhere, but we want someone who can then come on board and open doors and pull strings.
100%.
And so I got to that point, and these guys are that guys. So yeah, so it's.
Do you think having the personal brand presence from being on the show helped with that?
With the investment or just the business in general?
Well, with the investment, or is that irrelevant to the sort of people that are investing? Do you know what I mean? Or did you meet those people because maybe they'd knew of you through the show, etc., etc.? Or does it not work like that?
No, well, we met them through, again, this very small world that is London, and it was just like mutuals, crossovers.
Yeah.
They're based in Southwest London. We go out in the same areas. Met the MD, met the founder, and we had conversations on nights out.
Yeah,
literally. Like,
it's always the best.
Where
best business deals are done over drinks.
Over drinks.
I say this every time.
And it was like, I love what you're doing. Love what you're doing. Wait, hang on. What you're doing is quite similar to what I'm doing. You've got money. I don't have money. Oh, let's fucking talk. Yeah, let's put two and two together. And that's kind of where it began. And literally over a drunken balcony chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, to everyone that says a night out's a fucking unproductive, they're not.
Well, I coined this term a strategic send. So I think I've mentioned it on the pod before, but basically putting yourself in positions where social walls are torn down via sending, but with influential, powerful, interesting people, whether that be investors, people at networking events, whatever you want to call it. But like, if you, there's definitely times where getting on it is very effective in terms of a business and networking perspective. It's just, I think that the whole stereotype around networking is what a lot of people get wrong. They're like completely faking who they are. They're putting on this act. Just be your fucking self and have something interesting to talk about. Yeah. And know your shit, which helps. But I've always done quite well with that. Just fucking sending with interesting people. Like, everyone I know now or is invested in my business, I've met either from a send of some respect, whether it was 4 years ago originally or through the pod, but then just one thing leads to another. If you're a decent person with a decent idea,
I couldn't agree more.
People buy into it, and usually it happens in scenarios where it's less like formal. Yeah. So
I mean,
it's good advice.
There's a commonality that you're both there. You both love that side of things, that socialising side, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And that like there's definitely, you align in that way. And then when you start to open up about business and there's some synergy there, then you're like, well, let's fucking talk. Let's, there's something here. And there's a lot of people that hide behind closed doors and that probably start a very successful business, but I think they make it a lot harder for themselves. Like the classic, it's not what you know, who you know. Like,
it's so true.
There's so much power in having that network and that support and being able to like work through your network that a lot of people don't put enough value in. And I owe a lot of, I don't want to say success because prime time's at its early stages, but I owe a lot of where we are now to that, to going out, to being personable, to getting to know people out of genuine interest, because I love business, I love people, I love to really understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, who they are, where they came from, what makes them who they are. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I think it's so true. That's also kind of why I started doing the pod. It started as fun. And then I was like, fuck, this is a really mad effective networking tool, because you spend like 90 minutes fucking speaking to someone. And because I do it all in person, I refuse to do it on Zoom.
Yeah. No, right, mate, Zoom, how shit would that be?
Like, well, most pods are like
sorry,
online.
Mate, is that your Wi-Fi breaking up? Yeah,
exactly. I've thought about doing it, but then I was just like, nah, I can't. No. I need to keep the principles and do it in person, because...
Well, you're saying two of your investors were from the pod?
Yeah, so Alex and Jimmy, who both invested, You've both built mad successful and exited from big businesses. Yeah, I met them through the pod. I met one of them actually originally.
But you met them,
like
you must have met them just
ago.
before to bring them on to the pod, right?
Yeah, but it's because I had the pod that they then said, Jimmy, I DM'd, and Jimmy was on my recent video. It was a video I called like my mentor or whatever. And yeah, we're like good mates now as well. But yeah, I just DM'd him saying, do you want to come on the pod? And he said, I'll go for a coffee because I watched your first episode and I think it's interesting. And then that's where it started. But yeah, just like putting yourself out there and, you know, for a start, have something interesting to say. I'll know what you're talking about. But yeah, just fucking be authentic and put yourself out there. Because I actually think in like, as much as I try and stay off like social media half the time, I just think in 2022, like a personal brand, if that's what you want to call it, like everyone has a personal brand. It's just your fucking reputation. But if you don't make your own and put your own content out there and your own perception of yourself, the people are going to think something, whether it's on LinkedIn, fucking an email, do you know what I mean? So you may as well.
If you're shying away from social media, you're going against the grain.
Yeah,
and you're going against the grain. You're
exactly.
Not, you know, you've sometimes got to just suck up, like the fact that maybe it's not you.
Yeah.
Like for example, like I was never an Instagram like focused person. Like I'd never done a face to camera like thing in my life. But then when I started the show and I knew that to make money and get brand deals and to like engage on Instagram, I was like, I've got to fucking man the fuck up here and learn how to talk to the camera and do it. And I remember doing my first one. I was on the way to the gym. I must have had like 10,000 followers. I probably was like, where the fuck's my blue tick? Why is it not in yet?
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for mine.
Yeah, I got mine the other day, yesterday. How mad is that?
That took a while.
Yeah, it did.
Not?
Yeah,
I thought you had that ages ago.
No, literally, no. There was something. I think the algorithm was fucked up. Yeah. But yeah, it took a lot of like going against I guess classic going against your comfort zone. I was like, I'm not comfortable doing this, but I know it needs to be done to get where I want to get to. And sometimes you've got to fucking have that sacrifice and not sell yourself in any way, but like, you know, I guess adapt yourself is probably a better way to put it, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you notice was it like, I guess it wasn't overnight, but how quick did you go from being like no one knew who the fuck you were to like having a profile on like Instagram and shit?
Mate, I blew up.
And how literally focused to London is Made in Chelsea? Because obviously I watched it when I was in fucking York. I mean, it's obviously got a massive audience.
I basically started the show and just blew up. Like I started the show and 3 years later I got my blue tick. So I just went. No, literally, it was a fucking slow burner. Like real slow burner. Like, you know, the first season, you get 10,000 followers, whatever. Like, doesn't really mean much. There's no brand deals coming off it. You're not a big enough profile to start to have like a management or like anyone sort of representing you. You might get a few like free products or whatever. And then like it's just a slow burner. It took me about like a year and a bit. A year and a half until I was like, right, like I can start making like a livable income off this. And then, as I just said, 3 years to get a fucking little ticky thingy, whatever that means.
And do you think do you like having a following? Would you like to get to like 2 million followers? Or do you not give a shit?
No,
is it like is your focus way more about
my focus
about the
has
business?
always been fortune over fame.
Yeah, 100%.
And if I have to have partly fame to get to that fortune quicker, then I'll do it. Yeah. But if I could be known, if I could be famous for being, what's the word for it? Fortune. If I could be famous for being rich, i.e. Elon Musk, who is a celebrity in his own right because of his wealth and his business, like aptitude, I would do that.
Yeah, it's interesting,
but
isn't it?
Not because of celebrity status or Z-list status.
Because the majority of influencers are not rich. I mean, there's obviously some that are. Yeah. But there's plenty that look like they are that... Yeah. I know some, and I know for a fact they're way less rich than people
not even
might
celebrities,
think.
just Instagram. Just like that's what Instagram does. It fronts your best life. It fronts this like thing that isn't real.
But then I guess the thing that like Instagram fame and like fame in general, and like having the blue tick and stuff, that gives you something that I guess money can't give you in ways, which is like status and like perception.
Yeah, like,
especially as like a young guy, because I speak to my mates all about this all the time, and like someone we know is like paid to get a blue tick, and I'm thinking, fuck, is it worth it?
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
I mean, maybe it is worth it. I probably wouldn't do it, but
I think maybe from a business stance point, it is. Yeah,
certainly for like a brand page. But then,
but again, depends how much. Really, it's a trade-off. But I know a lot of people pay quite a lot.
Because it's like I'd rather be, wealthy and obscure and unknown. Yeah. At the end of the day,
100%.
Than the other way around. But even from just like a niche like ecom, like the world that I'm in, where I mean, even if this pod got massive, it would still be relatively niche compared to like some things.
When the pod gets massive.
Yeah, true. But it's like, I guess I'd want to be known and respected by the people that I care about, like people in my industry and like founders that I look up to or whatever, rather than just some kids in like India maybe. Like, I don't know, if I went viral on TikTok for example, like maybe all the followers are just like random kids.
You're doing it for you.
So and it's also not like I genuinely don't care like if I get how many followers I have or how many views I get on the pod or whatever. It's more about if it helps the process of trying to build a better platform, or it helps, I don't know, helps me get in front of a certain fund with my business, and that goes through my mind, of course. It's pretty tactical, a lot of the content I put out. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't really care about having views or whatever, but if it helps the initial goal, which it does, then I do care.
Exactly. So with the prize in mind, with the goal in mind, it's like what sort of means to an end. What can I use? What tools can I use? What's at my disposal to get me to that goal quicker? That's what I use the show for. That's always been the focus. It's like, right, this is a vehicle. This is powerful. If used in the right way, it can accelerate your business. Like you've got case studies like fucking hell, brain's gone mush. You've got case studies like my ex-girlfriend's fiance, no, I'm joking, Jamie Lang, right? Candy Kittens. So like that's like that. It's hard to tell. It's one of those things like taking your.
I'm gonna have to cancel him coming on the pod now, and I'm joking. He's not booked, but I think Lucy was saying she's trying to get him on.
Really?
Or his co-founder Ed.
Ed, yeah.
I think it's less well known. Maybe like
he's the guy who's fortune over fame. He's actually the guy. What? I don't know the ins and outs, but he's like he's the brains behind it. He's the hustler. He's the sort of, and then Jamie's obviously this like celebrity guy, face of like, is known for the brand, but not necessarily the guy like doing all the fucking graft to an extent. But he's doing his own graft because the value in his profile and platform is half the reason of its success, and maybe the other half is Ed. But what I've tried to go out and do is be both halves. I want to be the guy who drives it, and I do everything from like procurement, like marketing, invoicing, finance, sales, and then I also have developed this platform which allowed me to have nothing on Jamie, but a bit of a social profile, and it helps for sure. But if I had the choice, it would be fortune over fame. 100%. But I've had to. But going back to that sort of sacrifice thing, I've had to go, right, I'm gonna put myself out there in the public eye if it gets me to where I want to get to quicker.
Are there any downsides to
that? There's a lot. Like like putting yourself,
such as what?
Such as you're exposing your whole life to the world. I went through a horrible breakup where I fucked up and I regret it every day, but I cheated on my girlfriend, and I had to firstly deal with that personally, which is hard enough as it is, and understand why I did that, why I didn't do it in a better way, all this shit. But then equally, let everyone else see it. My mum, that for me, it's not even the randomers. It's not the like guys that will troll you sitting in their basement going, "You're a fucking cunt." It's like my close like people, my family, my friends, being like, having exposure to that and being able to see like the ins and outs of it, like it's a bit like then you do feel like on edge. You then have to go back to like everyone loved my Emily, like everyone loved her, so she was so ingrained in my family, like to the point where I'm pretty sure they saw her as a daughter and me as a like son-in-law. I think it switched around at one point. And I'd go home after all that happened, and I was like a bit on edge. I was like, fuck, I've really upset everyone around me because I've fucked up, and they know everything about it. Yeah, otherwise it would have just been a conversation between me and them. Oh yeah, this thing happened.
You both sit on the show?
Yeah.
How does, like, are you then put into like different scenes and shit?
Yeah, I mean,
because it's like a really weird blurred line between like reality and what kind of looks like a movie. Like the production is obviously like very glossy and shit.
Yeah, they're very good at that.
Yeah.
No, they're very, yeah.
Does that just make everyday filming like really awkward?
Yeah, it's definitely awkwardness. Like, yeah, like, I don't know, you're put in front of people that you don't really want to be standing in front, and you have to have that conversation, and you just kind of, I don't know, like, I've definitely developed a thick skin to it. At the beginning I was like, fuck, like, what is this about? Now it's just like, it's business. It's day to day. You just do it, you get it done. You know what you're there to do. You know what you signed up for. Like, at any point you can go, I'm out. I quit. I hand in my resignation, like any other job. But you don't. Why? Because everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a reason to be there. Like, mine is prime time. Mine is growing that. So I use that as a like justification.
Are you
tool.
Pushed into another relationship then with anyone that's there?
They would like.
Do they encourage that?
Yeah, they do.
Try and like
that's all they want. That's
facilitate
all they
that. Yeah, and bring in like new people.
Yeah, and keep that like the flame.
Will they
alive.
bring in people that they think you might like? Is it that scientific?
Yeah. No. There's not much like data analysis. They wouldn't have. They wouldn't have
just
done
like
a financial
bringing
model.
People that your type is.
But yeah, like they'll bring on like attractive people that hopefully you'll like date and build a romance with, and they'd like to follow that story. Like they love following. Like I met Emily on the show, and from sort of start to finish, like they saw everything. They saw the moment I met her. They saw the moment I asked her to be my girlfriend.
That's crazy.
They saw the moment I moved in with her. They saw the moment I told her I loved her. The first time I told her I loved her, in reality and on TV, was on TV. Like,
fucking hell.
Because I knew.
That's deep.
Yeah, like, and part of me knew that I'm on the show. I loved her through and through, but I also knew that I was there. I was doing a job, so I actually saved telling her I loved her for camera, and it was the same because she was on the show and she knew what it meant. But it was the first time I ever said I love you was on the show, and like a serious moment. And I did it in front of 3 cameras staring me in the face.
Fucking hell.
And 20 other people behind the cameras going.
Yeah, that's
do you know what I mean? And then they saw the moving in and the talk about children and marriage and me freaking out and her wanting that, and then me cheating on her, and then the breakup, and that's all on camera. And I could go and watch that back on YouTube and go like, whoa. And if we got married and it went the distance, equally I could go back and watch. That was the moment we.
That is mad.
That's the moment we met. That's the moment we kissed. That's the moment we
are televised and it's real.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That was mad. You could build a full like story on it.
That's probably even more intense than Love Island, because obviously that's 6 weeks, whatever it is.
Yeah, and it's like,
whereas this is over 2 years.
Yeah, and it's following your like real life. It's not like a scientific experiment, like throw you in a pen. Like they're basically like throwing a pen. Their phones are taken away. Like they're like detached from reality. They know like they're kind of it's different. Like Main Chelsea follows your day to day. It follows your ups, your downs, like your real life. And for like, you know, some people have been on it for 7, 8, 9 years.
Fucking hell, yeah.
Like, and they would have like literally like some of them. Intense. You like. Ollie and Gareth's one of my business partners, amazing guy. Ollie's his husband, and he's been on it. I'm pretty sure he was the first. He did the first scene of the whole thing. He was the first guy in the first scene, and he's still on it now. He's gone on and off, but he's still on it, and it's been around for 11 years. So he could literally look back 11 years ago and he would look like a baby.
Crazy. That is crazy.
Like, that was, and you could follow his life, and he went between straight, gay, straight, girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, this, that, then marriage with Gareth, and like their marriage was televised on TV. The whole marriage. First time, like in the National Art Museum, what's the National History Museum?
Yeah.
Beautiful. It was the most viewed episode ever on Main Chelsea by like fourfold, by like millions. It was like 4.5, 5 million versus the normal like 1 or 2, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it was the most beautiful thing. Like you watch it and you'll shed a tear. And obviously it was like one of the biggest gay marriages ever, like in the UK. and it was a big moment for like the LGBT community, so it was great. But they will have that forever, and their children will probably also log into the YouTube if that's still about and go like, oh daddy.
You can definitely look back. It's like I often wish I'd like vlogged certain parts of my life, even just privately, like in my early 20s. I did used to make like travel vlogs, but even just watching them, it's like, it's mad. But this is obviously on another fucking level because it's high production. It's like a literal movie of certain significant parts of your life. That's crazy. How long do you think you'll do it? Is there a timeline?
For me, it's a balancing scale that I've got in my head. It's prime time. It's made in Chelsea. Made in Chelsea prime time. It's kind of like going like this. As long as it kind of is serving its purpose, and prime time's growing and growing, I'd love to get to a point where I can let it go and I can just focus on prime time and do that. But for now, it's very much like a value to what I'm trying to do. I'd like to think like a year or two more maybe on it. I don't unenjoy it. I've got some really good mates on it. I've like developed some long mates from it. I've equally gone through the ringer and probably got some enemies, and like you know, it has its like emotional like tolls, but I do owe a lot to it. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see. Again, going sort of comparative to the Matrix in the corporate world, like there are worse jobs. Like you're sitting there, you're having a bit of like a banter, a chat, maybe sometimes drama, like with your mates, and you're getting paid to do it, and you make good TV, and it makes people happy and smile and whatever. Beats fucking working in an office, like behind a laptop for 8 hours. Like I'd probably still be happier doing that on its own if I was not doing prime time than working for PwC, I reckon. Yeah.
Do you have like a specific goal with prime time? Obviously you said you feel like it's kind of just the start now because you've raised this round.
Yeah, so my goal is a 5 to 7 year exit. 250 mil is the exit value that I want to hit, and that's sort of based off the investment day, so a month and a bit ago. That's what my business model spits out. I think, I mean, ambitious, but realistically ambitious.
How do you think the business has to look to get to that? Because I've actually got a mate who has he needs to come on the pod actually. He just invested in my brand. He has a gin tonic, sorry, not a tonic, it's a mixer brand called Elixir. And he's been doing it like, they've just raised a few million in a new round. And it's a cool business.
I think LIXR.
LIXIR,
yeah. I would have seen it.
But I was speaking to him about like valuations and plans, and it's interesting how, like,
what does he say?
His multiples and stuff, it's just very different to
ecom.
How I would look at like D2C and like, it's just interesting because
what's his multiples? Revenue multiples?
Well, it's like way higher revenue multiples than ecom.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because
8 to 10?
Yeah, like barrier to entry is way higher for a start. Like it's generally more consistent once you've got like deals with retailers, etc.
It's that brand like loyalty that you develop as a drinks business.
Yeah, because he was saying like Fever Tree would buy them. I don't know if I should even say this on the pod. He'd probably say it on the pod, but that was like his plan. And
Fever Tree would be the equivalent in his field to like Heineken or Bev in my field. They're like each like, and imagine it's the same with ecom. Well, it is from what you've told me, like Boohoo will buy you out, or they're the big dog.
Yeah, like I would see like a P&G or a Holland and Barrett might buy my brand.
Yeah, exactly. There's the big dog players that
conglomerates
allow you to gain your success, and then they'll swipe you out when you've proven a bit, and then and then scale you and take you to the next level. And that's like, it's not a sellout for me. It's like a business move. Like I would love to stay involved. Like prime time for me is everything. It's like me in a bottle. It's like I love doing, what I love to, but it wouldn't be like 5 years, that's my hands, thank you. It would be like sell out, but let me stay in control. But sell out because they will scale you to levels that you've never seen before. They will bring your like cost down to quarters of what you're operating on. They'll open up your distribution network to the world. That's the kind of buyout that I want. Do you know what I mean? So it's
definitely.
And it's I imagine similar like with Holland Barrett, they'd buy you out, suddenly you'd be across the whole
I actually
UK.
Spoke to Holland Barrett today, so I mean planting seeds, but
do you want me to slide into their DMs with my blue tick and be like,
exactly.
I want to check out this Elixir thing quick.
Yeah, no, it's cool that they're all over everywhere. But it's it's similar to yours in the respect that they sell online, but online's never going to be their main thing because people don't buy bottled drinks online, like you're saying.
No.
So, yeah, it's like,
where are they at the moment? Like, in terms of
like how far in?
Yeah, and like how much funding have they got, and like what's their valuation at?
Oh, geez, I probably shouldn't say, but I mean they're like 4 or 5 years in. It's pretty established. Yeah, they got a team of like 20 people, I think. Did
they boom through lockdown if they're like e-commerce based?
I don't know, to be fair. I need to get him on the pod. He's called Matt as well. I texted him earlier today.
Have you ever done a 3-way pod?
A few. The first ever one was 3 people
with another drinks guy. That'd be quite interesting.
Oh, like was in like with different founders. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Aligning similar
I've done it with like 2 guests from the same business or the same place. That's a good idea though. Yeah, I can agree with one. Yeah, that is a good idea. Do you think this is something I think about a lot, and like with my mates, I'll chat about it all the time. Like, would you say off the bat you're more bothered about securing personal wealth or building a massive brand? And obviously the two, there is correlations, of course. But like, would you rather say get prime time to £1 billion valuation, but you own fucking 0.1% of it, and you've not really made that much money, but you like you sold your soul to the devil, so to speak, and scaled the fuck out of it, and you built this iconic brand that was, like you say, you in a bottle? Or would you rather, hypothetically, only ever reached 50 mil valuation, but you personally took 25 million out of it? Because they're very different things. And this is what one of my investors and mentors kind of told me. He's like, don't chase the big valuation, chase personal funds. It's like that Drake line.
Yeah.
Don't show me valuation, show me personal funds.
Is that a line from him?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Because obviously, like, you read about all these unicorns and shit, and like fintech and like, you know, valuations of XYZ business. But then it's like, how much does the founder own?
Yeah.
Have they actually liquidated any of their equity? Probably not. Or, you know, can they even do that? Who's going to buy them out?
Yeah, no, it's really
and he was like, well, why do you want a valuation? You want personal cash at the end of the day, which you can then invest and fucking secure you and your family's future. But it's an interesting
really interesting question. It's literally what I've been asking myself for the last few weeks, like since his first investment, because I'm already thinking of a second one. And I'm like, right, where am I going with this? Where am I getting diluted to? Like, what do I want from it? Like, massively like relevant question. And I'm 100% on the side of I'll take 5% of something massive, something huge, something that everyone knows about, a household name that is like, that leaves a legacy that people, because I want to spread this to the world because it values the world. Like it's literally a solution to the current beer market. People are drinking beer, taking in needless calories, needless carbs, and this beer is just as good tasting and just like eradicates that. So like, why
keep me lean?
So I want to share that. I don't want to be this like guy with 100% that's made a little dent on London. I want to be a guy with 5% that's made a dent on the world. And definitely that way. And I want to also like take on investment probably quick. Like I did a pretty like sizable first like seed round, like more so than I probably but like more so than the standard industry like seed round. I took on 400,000 and gave away, you know, the equivalent equity, where I could have probably taken on 100, proved what I could do with 100, then taken on 200-300, but I was like, I want to hit the turbos. I want to fucking get going and get this thing off the ground properly, because one, it is a world's first. So if we dawdle, like people can come up against us. Like I've already seen that Brewdog have like put a LinkedIn post a couple of days ago again.
Yeah, Brewdog are killers.
Man,
it's crazy business.
But they put a LinkedIn post going like along the lines of, what are your thoughts of a functional range? And they've got like 3 I don't know what you call it, like prototype graphics. Yeah. One's caffeine infused lager, one's protein lager, and one's CBD lager. And I looked at it and went, oh fuck. Yeah. Oh no.
Got to move.
Yeah, got to move.
Or they buy you out in 2 years' time. It's fine.
Yeah.
But then you wouldn't maybe be where you want to be if they did that.
Yeah, so that's like definitely like a rock up my ass, and it does make me anxious. I'm like, oh fucking hell, like, yeah. But then equally, there is this space to allow people like myself to like have that growth. like Jubel are do you know Jubel?
Yeah, I've seen them on LinkedIn actually.
Yeah,
today.
peach schnapps, like peach beer basically. And they're like full niche and they're doing amazingly well. And you do wonder, like, well, why did no one else jump on board? Why didn't Brewdog just take that market up? Why didn't I?
Yeah.
But there's like there is value in the co-founders and having that vision, and no like corporate cog matrix kid could just come from like Heineken and like go, right, well, I'm going to do this brand and like do this caffeine infused low calorie lager niche or like peach lager niche, because they just wouldn't have the right vision, the right touch, the right like mark on it. So they allow businesses like myself and Jubel to grow to a point where they go, all right, yeah, you're legit now. Let's talk numbers. And that's when the sellout comes. Yeah, so that's kind of the vision. And I hope Brewdog, Heineken, AB Bev, if you're listening, give me 5 years, all right? And just let me do my thing.
Yeah, exactly. You got to plant those seeds. It is an interesting one because, like another thing I think about on like the back of that is like, I feel like a big exit is like the Champions League final for any entrepreneur. And it's very doable, but it takes a lot of time, of course. And it's fucking hard to get there. But like, I often think, all right, assuming everything goes to plan, which it won't go to plan, but it probably goes something similar version of that plan eventually. Like I'm absolutely certain I'll make it to where I want to be, within the next 5 whatever years. Where do you want to be? Well, we'll get onto that. but then let's just say hypothetically I build this brand and I sell it when I'm 30 and I'm filthy rich. But then what? There's still like 50 years of life, provided I don't die young. So, okay, granted, start a new brand or whatever, start a new something. But maybe like you were saying, maybe I'm better off at that point. I don't know, say P&G have bought me out and I fucking want to work on the next generation of like psychedelics and shit, which is like a much longer term thing anyway, and would probably take at least 5 years to even start doing that. And then maybe that would be like my purpose in life beyond that. Because like, like making money is great and I've made money and lost money and whatever. But I think once you get a little taste of like making some money, and actually more importantly, speak to people that have made big money, like a bunch of my investors, and they tell you that it's not all that, then it's like, fuck, where'd you get fulfillment from then? Like, what are you chasing if it's not just the fucking bag?
Well, what is your like goal after the bag? I have a clear one, but I want to hear yours.
What, beyond just financially?
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I've got clear steps after prime time.
I feel like I can only think like 5 years ahead. I really can. So the plan in the next like 5 years is to build this brand and get a massive exit from it, which I think I'm in the right space to do it with certainly the right people around me.
So this is like how much your capacity is on this right now? Space Goods, like.
Well, like 100% ultimately. Like
you got this.
Even doing the pod though, I consider part of that.
Oh yeah,
really.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Because I guess it's not entirely. But I think building my profile as a founder and like meeting interesting people that you never, I don't know, you might know someone that can one day help me with an element of that. So that's another string to the bow of people I know. And that was a little rhyme. But like all I'm doing now is that and the pod. Like in the past, my problem has been trying to do too many things at once. Like in 2020, I was running 2 ecom brands at the same time, which is a fucking terrible idea. But now it's like, all right, compound the lessons. And I've definitely learned a lot of hard lessons. Like now I've actually got people around me, particularly on like a finance side, because that's where I fucked up in the past. And it's like just fucking getting the driving seat, but also then trying to enjoy the process, which, I mean, I think being an entrepreneur is fucking lonely anyway. Like particularly working from home. Like I was saying,
e-commerce was,
because like
a lot,
I can travel all the time or whatever, and I do travel a lot.
So is this like one man band?
No, it's not one man band. There's like 6 of us, but they're all freelancers, agencies. There's no one in an office.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there ever will be. But a bit of me thinks as I've got a bit older, I would definitely like to have like a more consistent. I don't want to travel like all the time and be that like Bali nomad, which I used to be. Bits of that are still cool, but then you actually do it, and it's like, all right, I want some consistency. I would love to have polished concrete floors, office in Fitzrovia, pink walls, a fucking massive neon sign with the Space Goods logo.
Now that's sounding quite Matrix.
Well, like that, but like my own fucking version of it.
Yeah, but you're leading.
And like have a studio in there to do the pod. 50 people maybe. I don't know if I necessarily want to run 1,000 person company hypothetically. maybe like 20 to 50 is like a good number, so you can know everyone. This is like my vision, but then I guess like the goal beyond just money.
With this product or with another one?
I think with this business, I think.
Do you think this could be the next big thing?
I think it's the next Athletic Greens.
Is it? I need to fucking get on it. I haven't tried it yet.
Because my longer term vision for this, and it's been very problematic in the first 3 months, is to build a consumer psychedelics brand, because I think psychedelics, magic mushrooms, all that, psilocybin, there's all these Netflix documentaries.
What could you liken it to? Like what Pure Sport doing with CBD? Like that kind of...
Pure Sport's a cool brand. I think, yes, CBD in general is about 15 years ahead of where I see psychedelics going. Psychedelics are still illegal. Yeah. That's just black and white, particularly in the UK. So
this is my question, and it's probably good for the podcast so listeners can understand. So psychedelics are illegal. So what is that, and what is that offering that... And
so
why is it
this
like
isn't a psychedelic, right? So because it's illegal. My longer term vision was, I'm absolutely passionate about that market. Like I would like to have an impact on mental health, something I've struggled with a lot my entire life. I think a lot of people do silently. And I've dabbled in psychedelics to kind of explore my own mind, but also like microdosing and shit. So there's that like longer term view. Obviously, because it's illegal, I wanted to start building a brand that is essentially ready for a market that I think, I'm pretty sure is pending.
Okay, so what does this do that is space?
So yes, so the idea with this, illegal, but this is all legal ingredients. The initial concept was, and I built the product for me mainly to start with, it's a legal imitation of a psychedelic microdose. So it has similar feel basically. So
it's focus, energy, version?
Calm. It's not a synthetic version, it's just, it replicates the effect.
But why is it legal? Like, what is it that makes it legal?
It doesn't have psilocybin in it,
right?
Which is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms.
But then it mimics the same effect.
I guess it's kind of like you get these alcohol replacement brands that like put a bunch of like stimulants in and like certain shit that kind of makes you feel like you're drinking alcohol, but you can still drive because there's no alcohol. You kind of think about it like that. But the problem with that angle was when I was pushing that messaging on the website, Instagram, etc. The entire business is paid ads to start with. So, we run on Google, Instagram, TikTok primarily. Yeah. All the platforms banned me in the first month. So Instagram account got disabled twice. So
I'm banned on all this.
Yeah. So I had to change all the messaging on the website to basically remove the entire kind of concept of the business and dilute it down to just like, oh, it's a coffee replacement. Because
does it give you a buzz?
Yeah.
Can we have some now?
It's a great product. All the reviews are genuinely really good.
Put some into my bit.
I mean, you can.
How's it work?
It won't taste very good. It's chocolate.
Neither is prime time.
Well, it'd be an interesting mix.
It's chalky.
So I've had to pivot. I mean, that's one of a bunch of new products I've got in the way, but that's the first one we launched with. So yeah, I've had to pivot the whole kind of messaging broadly just to be a bit more vanilla to play it safe. But then the whole brand aesthetically is very indicative of psychedelics.
Well,
being
way
pink,
that
purple,
you call it rainbow
very wavy.
dust. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's all very intentional.
But okay, so
in a nutshell, that's what it is.
So what feeling do I get when I take some of this? What am I getting?
Focus, energy, calm is what I say on
and
the website.
And it really does give you that.
I mean, it's
think of it as coffee, or
it's like a very strong coffee without the crash. That's kind of how I market it.
How much do you have this every day?
Yeah.
Once, just take it once.
I have it once a day. I have it twice a day. So I just like shit like that. But
this is the sort of shit I need in my life, mate.
No, it's genuinely is very good.
I spend like
I've got a better version in the works. Got a version 2 on the way, which is got a bunch of other new ingredients. But yeah, it's cool. And because it's a powder, it actually works. Shit like gummies are never that effective and I've had to become like a nutritionist in this process, or learn a lot about it at least.
Where are the like origins of its use? Like, where do you get this? Like, oh yeah, like, do you know what I mean? How does this get into this packet, and you have the confidence to say that it does X, Y, and Z? So there must be some like tribe out there that wants to use this like strain of something.
Well, I mean, I work with a lab to make it all in the UK, so it's all made in the UK.
Oh, so I mean, like
all these ingredients have been around for fucking thousands of years. Like the concept as well, more product specific, was I was stacking a bunch of supplements similar to the stuff that's in that.
Steroids,
yeah. I was stacking a bunch of stuff like tablets and so on, and I just wanted it all in one, similar to how Athletic Greens do the once a day vitamins, blah blah blah. I wanted the simplicity. I wanted it to taste good and look good, and it's the way I see it is like the fact that the packaging is so different is one thing, but just most brands are very, very bland and vanilla in this space.
Well, there's a lot of similarities. You've got the gradient effect. You're looking for like a purpose, functional product. We're doing a lot of the same stuff here.
Yeah, so it's cool.
I like it a lot. I'm gonna definitely give it a punt. Might even shout you out on Instagram.
Yeah, so that's fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, Paul's got it at home, and he raves about it.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, obviously, the thing with any consumable product, and particularly supplements, is there's only so much you can do.
You good for a beer?
Oh yeah, you can have that one.
Yeah, you can have a wine.
Yeah, I'm nearly done with this. We'll see.
I feel like you want your red wine, don't you?
Maybe I have to pull it out. The thing with the consumable product is there's only so like strong and effective you can make it while being legal. So do you know what I mean? It's never going to be. Like, a lot of people got the wrong idea when I first launched it because of like the controversial marketing and shit, which I've had to dial down. Like I said, they were thinking they were going to like trip when they take it, and I'm like, no, it's not a psychedelic. You're missing the point. It's not meant to make you trip. It won't make you trip. There's nothing in it that can, but it's meant to imitate a micro dose of a psychedelic, which doesn't make you trip anyway.
But it's funny what that placebo effect can do for consumers. Like
100%.
People, if you like give them that thought, like same with the caffeine beer, people go, "Oh, what caffeine beer? Oh, it's going to taste shit." Oh, they go, "I can taste the coffee in here," and you go, "It's nothing to do with coffee. There's no coffee in there." But they've been like pre-notion.
Placebo's mad. Yeah.
So like that's what you do have to be careful of. How are you doing with it? Are you like, what are your like monthly revenues like?
Yeah, it's good. We've done like 300 grand the first 3 months now, so it's growing.
Fucking mad, yeah.
It's growing quick. We've got like 1,000 subscribers, and because that's the thing. Before I started this, and I've done way bigger numbers with previous brands. I mean, it's only 3 months in. It's growing very well, but it was less about the revenue numbers. I was very focused on how can we get subscribers, because that's where the value is.
Yeah,
it's almost like a SaaS business in that respect, because obviously people can cancel, but if people, you want people that subscribe and stay. Like I'm subscribed to Athletic Greens, which is like 90 quid a month. Yeah. So like the lifetime value in me as a customer, even just over a year, is like nearly $1,000.
I know you're obviously 3 months in, but have you got like a metric on how many of those subscribers stay? Like how much of that can you like attribute to recurring revenue?
Churn rate's like 25% so far. It's too soon to say, really. So like more people are staying than are cancelling, which means by default, if we keep growing, it'll keep going up.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you've got recurring revenue, like stability, cash flow, like security. You know exactly what's coming in.
It's much better for like building
model.
models and shit, and but it's the sort of business that if you want to grow quick, could require a lot of capital, because if I know that someone stays for on average 6 months, say at 40 quid a month, whatever that is, like 300 quid value, but then it's like we can spend 200 quid to get a customer, but we don't make the money for like 5 months. I'm not at that stage yet because I don't have enough data. But at that point, you could really just throw money at the wall on terms of like Instagram, because right now CPA is like 30 quid. So it's like basically profitable on first order.
So this is
still small scale though.
This is what
very
intrigues me so much about the e-commerce business model, is that it's almost like formulaic. You can get to a point where it's like, right,
it's
my return on ad spend is X.
It's like an algorithm.
Once I've got it right, I can just pump it. Like a funnel and just pump it, and you just like can churn out. Like what's your like return on ad spend? Is that the right metric to use?
Yeah, like blended ROAS is really what you look at. So like overall ad spend and overall revenue. I mean, right now it's like a little under 2, but because the product margin's 87%,
that's good enough.
Like break even's like 1.4.
Fuck.
Blended ROAS.
And what do you think you could get that to? Do you think you get that to like 3-4?
I wouldn't want to. If it was at 3 or 4, it'd be too small. Like I'd rather be, and this has always just been my mentality, I'd rather be at $1 million a month ASAP at break even than 300 grand a month profitable.
Oh, what you think? If you get to 3-4, you're just getting less.
I think
sales?
if you're at 4 ROAS, it's inefficient, because you're never going to be at 4 ROAS if you're scaling really, really quick.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah, that's just my approach. But
if you're at that, can you not then pump enough money into it to get
ad spend by default generally? The more you spend, the less effective it is pound for pound. It's just like fucking how CPMs rise. That's just how the ad platforms work. Particularly in a new brand, when you haven't got like mad returning customers, like mad brand awareness yet.
Right.
So yeah, it's obviously e-com compared to like retail or whatever. And I know pretty much nothing about that, but I'm trying to look at retail as well, just to diversify, ironically. But like e-com is very much like on the day. Like you spend the money, the customers are there today. Or at least on like a 30-day basis is like the biggest window I'd look at in like trailing performance. So yeah, it's like when you start, it's throwing a lot of money at the wall. And that's where most people that are maybe starting brands entirely bootstrapped or have never done it before, or They're starting in 2022 where ad costs are fucking 5 times what they were when I started in 2015. It's like, if you don't have the money and knowledge and also like a fucking very well executed website, brand, product, it's almost fucking impossible to scale quick. But when you know what you're doing, like I kind of do now, it makes it very, very viable to scale quickly.
From your first business with Neon Beach, right?
Well, that wasn't my first thing. I'd had loads of shit before that.
First successful thing, should we say?
My jewelry brand was my first successful thing, properly successful.
What gave you... My question was going to be, like, did you get to a point where through previous businesses you earned enough to put aside to then sort of rid that psychology of, fuck, I haven't got money to do this. If this isn't a success, I'm fucked. Like, have you now from your previous businesses gone into space goods thinking, I've got a couple whatever in the bank, I know I can do this, I'll treat it as more of an exercise, a hobby than make or break?
I mean, to be fair, I thought about this a lot because I started making a lot of money when I was like 21, basically. Like 22 maybe. With the previous business.
The jewelry one.
So I had a clothing brand before that. I had loads of shit. I've done a lot of shit. So...
Which one made you the most money? Out of the bank?
Neon Beach, before it went wrong.
And then, so I heard it went amazingly, too amazingly, couldn't keep up with supply chain broke.
And then I got bought out, I got a distressed exit basically.
Yeah, and how did that look for you? That distressed exit in terms of...
it was decent, but it wasn't...
Did that give you enough to put in the bank and go, right, like, let's have some...
Yeah, and I'd made money before that as well, for like years. But I mean, I was definitely not the most financially successful when I was younger. I spent all my money on cars and fucking travel and a lot of bullshit. Yeah. But I don't regret any of it because I had some mad experiences.
Yeah, maybe. You can do that at that age. Fuck.
Do you know what it is? To answer that question, like I think since I was maybe 21, I'm not really worried about money. Not because I was like necessarily making so much that it never crossed my mind. It was more because I just started to have such a good network that if I was ever fucked, I would just ask my mate to invest in my business. Yeah. Like I was just so convinced in the compounding effect of just sticking with ecom. Like I know so many people that I met when I was younger on like in like Bali, for example. Met a load of people out there when I was like traveling all the time that were like, they were into like drop shipping when Facebook ads were really cheap. So they made a bit of money at the time.
That's a classic Bali thing, isn't it? Yeah. Go live in a beautiful place. But then they fucking went into
NFTs and crypto, and I never did that because I knew I wanted to build a brand. I dabbled with a load of different brands. I proved what I could do, like very much 0 to 1 in multiple different markets, but I never stuck with anything to get like that 10 million quid plus exit. I mean, I saw 26, so I'm not crying about it, but it takes years to get to that point. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now, I feel like I've done a shitload of groundwork, and it can be like bamboo from here because I've had lots of wins, but also fucking big fuck ups, which I was very public about, which most people aren't. And like a fuck up to that scale, by the way, when I was 24.
Can you tell me more about it? I'm really curious.
You need to watch episode 1.
Oh, I'd rather you just give me a quick synopsis.
I mean, in 30-second synopsis is I was running my jewelry business, which was doing a few million in revenue anyway, profitable. I then launched this as like a side thing at the start of 2020, so just before lockdown. Perfect product, perfect timing in hindsight. Literally, Instagram ads, like it went from 0 to $1 million a month in like 5 months. I was like, what the fuck is going on? $1 million a month? Yeah, in revenue, yeah.
Fuck.
From zero? From 0, yeah. And then...
What ads were you putting?
I was spending like 600 grand a month on Instagram ads.
But what was your actual asset, your ad?
My ads were me in my bedroom. So I reckon my bedroom...
Photos of? Or
no, videos of me speaking. Is it? I reckon I was like the most famous person that no one knew who it actually was like in that year, arguably.
What are you saying? Do you want to know?
I just got this sign, blah, blah, blah. Like that was in loads of the ads. So was that one.
Fuck, that's so sick.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic ecom case study. Long story short, grew it too quick. I then had a supplier basically go bankrupt. Couldn't fulfill 2 million quid's worth of orders.
Bankrupt with all the supply.
Paid up front, 2 million quid's worth of orders disappeared. I then got savaged online. I had the Daily Mail at my door. That's how bad it was. Everyone was calling me a fraud, all this shit. Couldn't be further from the truth. And I was like, fuck, this is a problem.
Wow.
So anyway, long story short, go watch episode 1.
Well, I'm definitely going to just to hear the full story.
It's a genuine horror story.
And the exit was what? Off the back of that, you end up finding a buyer who's going to take you in a
I basically
situation.
got bailed out, and now one of those guys is now one of my investors.
It's annoying,
so
isn't it?
all the money, the vast majority of the money that was put into that deal went to customers.
Did they just basically pay your debts off and take over?
and then some,
a little bit.
Yeah, but it was
a little bit. So
it was the very best of a shit situation.
So you didn't cry every night.
It was the very best of a shit situation, but
and are they still operating?
Still operating.
Are they doing right?
Don't really know, to be fair. I mean, they're not doing as well as I was. I think that's. But I can hold my head up high and say I did the right thing in that situation. You know, I took the brunt of a supplier's error and took, you know, the probably 9 months of severe mental damage it did to me.
Was it really taxing?
Oh, it was the worst period of my life by far. Wow. I was like suicidal. That's how bad it was.
Fuck.
It was genuinely.
I can imagine, and like to rely. I'm in a similar position. Like you relying on a supplier. Like we don't have our brewery, we rely on a supplier.
Yeah,
if our demand
so
suddenly
much
spikes, we put everything in them. If their demand, like if they can't keep up, we're fucked.
Yeah,
there are some insurance policies, but
I didn't have any of that in place.
Yeah, I'm starting to get it in place because our demand's starting to go.
The business was way too big given the lack of experience I had helping me with it. Like, it was fucking insane.
Well, that speaks volumes in that.
Whereas
you
now,
did something which was
I've
so
got a lot of
above
experienced
your
people around me.
Experience that, like, it wasn't. I wouldn't see it as a failure. It was so successful that you
a great
weren't ready.
Story,
you weren't
really.
ready for it, which in itself is
and then it broke.
insane.
Yeah.
Like, you know, no 22, 3-year-old.
I was 24 at the time.
Would be able to like deal. That growth is insane. 0 to
like,
it was like Drake once said, 0 to 100 real quick.
No, yeah, literally.
0 to 1 mil real quick.
Yeah. So the thing I've got good at over the years is I'm very good at 0 to 1. Like, I reckon I could get any business to like £1 million within a few months from a bedroom online. I really do. Like, in any market. Because you build the skill set.
Is there a formula that effectively?
I think there is to an extent.
What is that?
What I'm naturally best at is like brand. Like, I do all the branding, all the visuals myself. Like, I don't take the pictures for the website and shit, but like the concept, the name, you know, the angle. That's what I just naturally have always been good at since I was like 18. I started doing that shit.
So it's good. It's good. Obviously branding, but then it's like an effective website, good user interface.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Good funnel, like good ad.
I guess kind of 3 key things. I think it's like the concept and like what it is. I guess how you sell it, like the website, how you position the offer, the pricing, and then how you get people to fucking buy it, which is ads. In layman's terms, they're the 3 moving parts. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes, the fucking admin, the finances, the logistics, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but the actual margin, like, where do you go and find a product that has the right margin to even bother fucking with? Like, where does that come from? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you pull it from China and put a nice, like,
I feel like everything starts in China. Yeah. Generally. I mean, this stuff's all made in the UK, but yeah.
But there are certain products that you can just, like, have, like, ridiculous margins on. Like when I was doing the mask stuff, I could land a mask at 50p in the UK and sell it at £7.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't touch anything with.
It's like the margins are so small
because it's canned as well, isn't it?
Well, canned bottle, like across the board, it's just such a. It's just a really high volume, low margin business model.
Yeah, I mean, everything has pros and cons because like people will speak about. Like, you know, for example, this has an 87% product margin, but it's kind of irrelevant because by default, I'm expecting to spend 50% of revenue on ads as a minimum.
There you go. Yeah,
so it's like in e-com, you need to have a big product margin just to even start.
It all balances out.
You have to spend on ads.
I guess it's all about net profit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So every business just, you know, the fucking P&L just looks different because there's different things to consider in the model and
like with us,
you got to know what you're doing.
Up front, you know, sales are minimal, you're in minimal pubs, and you throw a lot of money at it, you know, 500,000, million, 2 million. Suddenly you've gone from being in 1 pub selling 1 pint to being 1,000 pubs selling 1,000 pints a week. So that compound, and then if you were to take your foot off the pedal, off the marketing, and just hold all your capital, that ball would still roll. Not forever. But you would it would definitely still roll. You have to keep being active and in the sort of like consumers' eyes and creating awareness. But if you spent 5 years building a brand and everyone loved prime time and, you know, like the way that we drink whatever your choice of wine is, or like everyone's got, I drink Peroni, I drink Heineken. You know, if they just suddenly went into the darkness and you never saw a Heineken advert again, you would still drink Heineken for the next 4 or 5 years until some other brand got on your ear and into your mind and made you drink that.
That's where it differs,
So there is this like reoccurring revenue to an extent. You can't put a figure on it, but that there is this like underlying like ball that's going. And that's what we're starting to experience. Like we are, we're in one pub in the area, and then because like there's 100 drinkers in that pub that love prime time. If you pop up in the pubs around, there's also 100 of those guys that drink there. 50 of them drink next door and next door. So if you put your beer there, then they'll start drinking there, and suddenly you're just So it's like it's quite an exciting business model, I think.
Yeah. And
the multiples are huge. Like, I mean, my 250 million exit plan is based, as I say, it's ambitious, realistically ambitious. Like Camden Hells, who sold to AB and Bev for 85 million after.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, I think after four or 5 years.
Fucking hell,
4 or 5 years.
Not a bad result.
And they didn't have a footprint much further than London. So they were selling well and they were really high volume, but they hadn't really gone further than London. Obviously Camden's where they started, but they're in, I don't know how many pubs, but same with Beavertown. Beavertown sold for 50 million to Heineken for a majority shareholding. So I think the valuation at the time was about 100 million. Again, 5-6 years in. Meantime, another big like craft brewery, 120 million. But these guys hadn't even got further than London. Like I see prime time within 5 years being UK wide, if not like European, if not global, because it doesn't have a restriction. It's not a craft beer. It's not like, oh, we're from Camden, we can only sell to Camden. Like our beer is a beer of purpose, a beer of function. So it's like there's no reason it shouldn't be in the Alps in France because you want a caffeine beer when you've had a long morning skiing. You have a caffeine beer. I see so many people having a coffee and then a beer. So no, caffeine beer.
Yeah, very true.
Like, I think we can like explode way quicker than them. So a 250 million exit is doable for sure.
I like that. Yeah. No, it's fucking interesting. I love hearing about different models and shit because there's a lot of synergies, but then they're very different at the same time. And yeah, I think all entrepreneurs ultimately probably fucking think similarly in some way to how they view the world, and like
it's definitely like a different state of mind. Like Paul, my housemate, the same thing, like entrepreneur, and I moved in with him after my breakup with Emily because he's in the drinks industry as well, and it was just like I spent every night like on my own with Emily, but like I'd stay up till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock on the computer, like working. Emily would be like, come to bed, like 9, 10 in the evening. She'd have the TV on from 6 o'clock, and like I was like, I want to be around somebody that's doing the same thing as me because it's fucking lonely.
That's what I've always done.
And like to have that discipline, like to have Paul, who's also, I'm like, mate, you still working? He's like, yeah. I'm like, thank fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm about to do something. Like I get so weird when I like on my own. I'll start like making weird noises and screaming at the wall, like and like I don't know, like
No, it makes a big difference. Makes a huge difference. The people around you, for sure. Right, I want to ask you a few final things.
Oh god, here we go.
I mean, I haven't even thought what I'm going to ask. Well, I guess, what do you think's been the hardest thing about the past few years? Not even just business. I mean, your professional/personal life, which has been aired on TV to millions of people, alongside building a business, alongside obviously the personal and relationship challenges, and maybe anything else that you haven't mentioned. What do you think's been the hardest part of all that as a blend of experience?
The hardest part was definitely the decision to go and main Chelsea. That was like the hardest decision I've ever made. I was anxious for like a month. I put the decision off for months, not months, a month. And for me, it was like, right, leave a secure, prosperous, stable career behind in finance that I'd worked 5 years for, got a qualification for, that will provide a good like standard of living, or take a punt on this reality TV show that pays absolute pennies, and that may or may not pay off, and that may or may not support this brand that I'm trying to build. So like that decision was fucking like so scary. But then once I made it, I was just like, right, I've made it now. Like let's go. Like 2 feet deep. And then that was the scariest moment for sure. The hardest moment was this breakup with Emily on TV. That was horrible. And like because I loved it, like fucking loved it, and I fucked up because we were just in such different stages of life, and I don't know, I was a coward and I just didn't tell her how I felt, and I just instead acted how I felt, and that obviously then reciprocated and hurt her way more and me, and then had to get aired to fucking world. So that's what was like, you know. So that was fucking tough. Yeah. How's that for an answer?
That's heavy. No, for sure. All right, final question, which I ask everyone.
Yeah.
Which puts everyone on the spot, is if you give 3 bits of advice to your maybe 18-year-old self, kind of going into, or maybe like when you finish uni, or like younger self, knowing what you know now, just about life and the fucking journey and business, what would it be?
Oh, wow.
Just broadly speaking. I haven't asked this question before on my own pod and I couldn't fucking answer it.
Don't do drugs.
Yeah, that's one.
What would it, this is going to be controversial, but for me, don't go to uni. Fucking get stuck in. But that said, if you have that hunger and that vision to be an entrepreneur, because I wish now that I am in this position, I'd use those 4 or 5 years at uni and PwC to get a head start where I am now.
Yeah.
So I would go back and I would have started at 18. And I've learned and failed, but I still think I would have been in a stronger position than I am now. What else? Network. Like don't undervalue the power of people, and like associating with people that are on the same journey as you. I think whether it be entrepreneurism or you fucking love accounting or corporate finance or marketing, whatever, fucking dive headfirst with and associate with those people, because they're only going to make you better at what you're trying to do. And it's fucking powerful. Was it 3 things?
Definitely, yeah. Well, that's 2. I guess don't do drugs is the first one. Yeah, you got one more.
Oh shit, have I got that much wisdom to give? Don't think so. What else?
It's like a therapy session. Always is.
The other thing, as hard as it is, don't be a short-termist. Try and look at the long-term goal. So easy to like say yes to that like night out, to what's it, like the carrot that's like dangled in front of my face, like the easiest one. But like try and like look further into the future. Like it's mad what you can do if you put your head down and look back 6 months and go, fuck, like look where I've come. And that's what, like,
definitely
for me, that's like I went through this horrible breakup. I almost lost my business, another whole story. Got into bed with the wrong people, lost my girlfriend obviously, and I was at this point where like I was going to lose it all, and I was just like, I'm just going to get my head down. I haven't really taken it up until now, and I look back now, and it was about 6 months ago, and I'm like, fuck, like what I've achieved in that time is like amazing. But you know, at the time I was like, it'd be so much easier just to go for a bit. It'd be so much easier just to go on holiday. It'd be so much easier just to, you know, get that short-term satisfaction. But you've just got to go now, like think long-term, because that long-term, once you've done it, will become very short-term. Like if you can just do everything for 2-3 years, you can look back and go, 2-3 years, that was fucking, now look at me, I'm sat on a yacht.
Time's going to pass anyway.
I've done my bit. I'm fucking like feet up, relaxing. So like, I think sort of, it's really easy as young people to like see time as such a, I don't know, like a concept. But my mum was the reason that I made that decision made in Chelsea. I was like, I don't want to do it. Like the fear factor was just like up here. My mum, from the age of 55 perspective, was like, Harvey, it's a blip in the ocean. It's a drop in the ocean. Like, do it. If it doesn't work out, you look back, you'll laugh, it'll be nothing. And like, it's so true. You look back at when I'm 55, and if that had fucked up, I'd look back and go, it was so worth the risk. Yeah, so that's it.
That's good. Very, very wise.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was a long episode. I mean, we probably could go on for fucking 3 hours, but I learned a lot. I think there's a lot of gossip and a lot of business shit in there, and it's an interesting story. I'm intrigued to see where you take it. As usual, go fucking check out Primetime, and check out Harvey. You probably already know who he is. Maybe don't go and watch some of the old Made in Chelsea episodes where he probably made to look like an idiot in front of the whole country.
Don't watch any of them.
Subscribe to the pod. Plenty more episodes coming as part of season 2 and beyond. and we'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers for watching. Peace.